Madness, Matthew Mayer's creation, to kind of get us through, I guess, the NCAA tournament, or the lack thereof, here with myself, Mark Zito, and Mike Golic Jr. Guys, how's it going?
It's going, man. Mayor Madness is alive and well. Getting ready for the NIT. Let's go.
I am amazed, and you sent us the NIT bracket earlier. Looking through that, like, I was going back already and re-listening to a bunch of songs. Like, it is a juggernaut of an NIT.
Dude, we'll get into the NIT in a little bit, but, like, at the same time, like, I thought Mayor Madness was hard to put together. The NIT was even worse because that's when you're getting into some real John Mayer, like, under the covers, like, crazy unreleased songs. Like, I had to limit it. We'll get into it a little bit later, but we'll break down the bracket.
All right. Which panel do we want to, or which group do we want to kick it off in? Dreams to Remember?
Yeah, why not?
Go to the Dreams to Remember region with the number one seeded Gravity up against I Will Be Found. So Gravity, obvious number one seed for you, right?
Yeah, it was the number one overall. In my opinion, I thought it was going to win the whole thing. It didn't. Lost to Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. We'll get through it. So in terms of seeding, I put it against I Will Be Found, which is the lowest overall seed in the bracket. It is the last one. It's not that it's a bad song. It's just I needed to give Gravity its easiest road to the championship, which you'll see as you go through the results. This was actually the biggest win of the tournament. 90.9% of the vote went to Gravity, while only 9.1% voted for I Will Be Found.
See, for Gravity, for me, like, I think that's a live song. Okay, like, it's fantastic live. The recorded version doesn't necessarily do it for me the same way the live version does. And I feel like it's one of those songs that John has always said that he really, really likes it. And I don't know if that makes people say they really, really like it, but I feel like it's a whole different beast live.
I think this also, like, this song is like the case study for, like, the continuum bias that exists for me. And I think a lot of people, like, that album's got so many great songs. And like you said, most of them play really well live. And so if you've seen them live any number of times, it just drives that home. But Continuum is the one, or excuse me, Gravity is the one overall seed. A little shocking to me. Like, I would have thought the eventual winner would have been a no-brainer for that.
I tend to agree, but Gravity obviously crushed I Will Be Found, which, by the way, is one of my favorite songs off of Paradise Valley. And for some reason, I've been listening to a lot lately. I see it as definitely stronger than a 16 seed in this.
Well, it's funny when you get down to the John Mayer breakdown, like the crazy John Mayer fans kind of have an idea that I Will Be Found is like this made through completed version of Taking on Water, which he went to the Berklee School of Music and he played the song Taking on Water. If you listen to the lyrics, it's kind of similar. Like, he's sitting out at sea, he's a little lost. He's taking on his water. Like, it almost feels as though that's the completed version of that song. So I always wondered, so, like, the crazy Mayer fans are there, but the people who are just, like, casual John Mayer fans, which I think if you look at the results of the bracket are a lot of the people that voted, they're kind of like Paradise Valley, you know?
But it's such a good record.
Wow. I would say it I don't know that you're right, though. That is definitely, like, the John Mayer hipster will always in me, like, look and go, you know, Paradise Valley doesn't get enough due. We really need to go back and revisit a lot more of this.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say Paradise Valley is my favorite record, but every so often, if I'm in the right mood, that, like, Born and Raised Paradise Valley pair, I think really works. But our second matchup in that bracket is my personal favorite song, which is In Repair, versus Emoji of a Wave. So I obviously took In Repair here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was going to be In Repair in terms of my picks, but I thought this was going to be like a 55 to 45 matchup. It was 60 to 40 in favor of In Repair. I think Emoji is another one of those songs where it's like the newer, more, you know, trendier song, whereas you have the people who are John Mayer, like, lifers, they like Emoji. You know what I mean? But the people who are the casual fans, again, think back to In Repair. Emoji is really cool live. It's one of those songs that a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to listen to live yet. When I got engaged at the John Mayer concert over the summer, we'll get into that in a little bit when we get to the weekend, but that's a little teaser for you. He sang that, and the whole entire Madison Square Garden was singing it. It was one of those moments I'm like, wow, he actually does have a hit with this song.
Wow. See, and it's like I picked emoji in this one. Like when I voted online, I voted for emoji of a wave. And I don't know if it was me, because you're right. Like I have such a hold, like Continuum was the first John Mayer album that I like bought and held in my hands, and then I filled in everything else around that. So I don't know if I was trying to like, consciously like not be biased towards that one, but I don't know. You go back and listen to Emoji, and it's got a great build. Like all of it really works well. And like John's later stuff, like all the early stuff, like the themes around a lot of the early stuff are so similar that maybe it was just something kind of fresh and different for Emoji that did it.
For me, I was just happy on this last tour that In Repair made a little bit of a return, because I feel like for a while, like it was never played, and it was always my personal favorite song. And I remember even in the I think that video they put out, what was it, One Song One Day, I think it was called, where he was like, oh, I'm gonna be playing this past curfew and whatever, and then it just never really appeared. And it's just like my wife actually tried to get me like handwritten lyrics of that song. That's how much that I enjoy that song. So when I saw it was going to be an 8 seed and up against Gravity in the second round, I was like, well, oh no, it's not a good start.
Yeah, you start doing the math and it's never good.
The next matchup, Vultures versus Walt Grace, and this is my first personal like, yo, what were you doing? Because I don't see Walt Grace as a 12 at all.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Walt Grace is a lyrical masterpiece, and really on the guitar, it's when you see him play it live in a 12-string, like he's explained plenty of times in live interviews and everything. That's one of the hardest songs for him to play. Like he's out of breath when he's done playing Walt Grace. So in terms of everything, that's almost like, the peak of his songwriting coming to fruition is Walt Grace. So for me, it was really hard to rate it as a 12 seed as well. But I have to kind of keep in mind when I'm doing the seedings, it's like who listens to what? What are people going to recognize? The casual fan is going to look at it and say, what is this song, Walt Grace? You know what I mean? How is it a 6 seed? How is it a 5 seed? I've never heard of this before. The crazy Mayer fans are going to be like, yo, why is this not higher? But like, that's why I was like, you know what? I'll put it as a 12.
So what exactly was the logic behind the seeding? Was it just popularity, or?
So it was interesting, right? Like there are definitely some personal opinions mixed in here. Like you'll see like Say is a 16 seed, like, so it totally goes against the grain. But when I was putting it together, I looked at Spotify and kind of like what the top 10 were in terms of streaming and everything. So I put that into mind. And then I just kind of thought of like the biggest John Mayer songs. I looked at the Billboard ranks. I saw there was like a site, ranker.com, that kind of ranks everything. So I looked at kind of just where the general John Mayer fan base was looking in terms of ranking these songs. And then like I had seen in the past, like people put out their own lists ranking them. There were a bunch of different things online. So I put everything in order kind of like that, and then put a little bit of my opinion in as well. Each individual matchup I'd say is different though.
You're like your own selection committee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Listen, I didn't get it 100% right. I think I got it probably like 85 to 90% right, which I'll pat myself in the back for.
I would say it was a one-man job there. You're right. Maybe the next phase of this is we organize the committee for John Mayer seating for the next tournament.
You're looking at the committee for next Mayer Madness, yeah.
Exactly. Because you know what? This matchup in particular, it felt like the people who are real college basketball diehards, when you go in, because the 12-5 upset is always like one of the best ones that happens every tournament. And as soon as I saw this, I circled it on the page and I was like, this is George Mason. Like this team could make a Final Four run easily on this one. It is that, like, you're right. Like if you're one of the people who know, you understand this song was capable of that.
Vultures was just too good of a 5 seed though. 59.4% of the vote.
Yeah, Walt Grace. I mean, Vultures is a really strong song, but like lyrically, I think Walt Grace is one of his best songs. Not necessarily on meaning, but as far as the like craftsmanship of the actual words of that is impressive. But Vultures moved on. So far you got Gravity, In Repair, and Vultures, I believe, are the winning songs, and that brings us to Neon versus Changing here in the first round. What were your thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, I would say like if I was a betting man, the spread on this would have been like minus 30 in terms of percentage. I am a betting man, by the way. Neon is a masterpiece on the guitar. I mean, lyrically it is what it is, but it was really one of the first things that John Mayer put out on his guitar, where he was like, yeah, I'm going to shred and you're going to see how good I am at this. And when I come out and I do my Where the Light Is performance, I'm going to make a statement that I'm better at guitar than everybody else. And I shred on the acoustic. So Changing is an acoustic song as well. It's got a cool little solo at the end, but really if you're going to skip any song in the search for everything, I hate to say it, it might be changing. I actually think I seated it too high.
Wow, that major disagreement on this side, but I'll go to Mike first.
Yeah, you know what? This is one you talk about, like the personal part of this that we can't get away from. Neon was my ringtone and my ringtone and my alarm in the morning for so many like years, for like a stretch, that it is ingrained in my brain. I didn't think about this matchup for longer than a second.
See, if something was my ringtone or my alarm rather, it would always stress me out when I heard it. Like from that point on, I would just be like, oh.
Well, you know, totally off branch there, but I forget. Oh, One Republic, that "Too Late to Apologize" song was my best friend and my roommate and my teammate's alarm in college for when we get up for early workouts. So I hate that song with a passion because every time I hear it, it's 5 a.m. and I'm trudging through the snow to go work out.
I think I ended up going with Neon in this matchup, but it's interesting because Neon, you know, at least at first was definitely an electric song and is now almost morphed into almost solely played acoustic, I think, at this point. And I just thought that was an interesting change for that song versus, you know, what it was originally. Let me pull up the bracket here. I keep closing down the bracket and then forgetting where we are because there's just like so many good songs that Mike, you probably have more experience like doing some type of bracket show than I do at this point, but I'm
through a few of them. So what do we got? We got next going down in the rest of the Dreams to Remember division.
Heartbreak
Warfare against If I Ever Get Around to Living, the 8-11 or the 6-11. Sorry, little number.
Yeah, breaking this one down, man. Like Heartbreak Warfare surprised me, and this is one of the ones that I look at and I say I think I underseeded this one. Probably should have been a 4. Probably should have been a 5. A 6 might be a little low. A lot of people love it. It was a radio hit, and you forget it was a radio hit because it's one of the songs that he doesn't play live. And when John went on with Andy Cohen a couple of weeks ago, he explained like the one song I hate playing live is Heartbreak Warfare, and that's because it's so technical and there's all those little things that he's got to time up his song to. So I mean, playing an acoustic's one thing, but to play it actually live, it's difficult. So you almost kind of forget about it since it's not really been played on tour a lot. And it went up against If I Ever Get Around to Living, which was my pick to advance in this matchup. I think that's one of the songs that if you hear it live for the first time, right, you're like, screw this, 15 minutes of my John Mayer concert is out of the door. He's about to jam. I'm going to lose an acoustic song. He's probably not going to play Covered in Rain now because he played this song. Like it ruins it. And then the next concert you go to, you're like, you know what, I appreciate this a little bit more because every time he plays it, he tells a story of like, this is my life. And I just put it into a whole song. And even with the jamming in the middle of it, that encapsulates part of his life too, because now he's on tour with Dead & Company. So there's a personal factor to the song that I like so much, which is why I picked it. But again, Heartbreak Warfare is a beast.
Mike, you want to go next this time?
Yeah, Heartbreak Warfare for me. Again, this is one. I think there's also like, we probably need to do some delineation of like the live versus the studio recording in a lot of this, because that experience, you're right, changes so much of this. But for me, I was Heartbreak Warfare on the way on this one. Like the build towards the end of that kicks ass. Like it's an easy song to get like lulled into it and all of a sudden just rocked in the face right towards the end. So
I agree. And I like Heartbreak Warfare live most of all, and especially what they've done with it recently, where it almost has, I'm probably using the wrong terminology because I'm not a musician, but like almost more gain at the beginning now. It's like kind of angry or it's rougher. I like that a lot. And If I Ever Get Around to Living, while I really enjoy that song, it does have like Dead vibes, and I think was kind of like, if you're a John Mayer fan, that's like sort of a gateway to the Dead. But for as big of a John Mayer fan as I am, I've had a really hard time getting into the Dead stuff. And so for that reason, I also went Heartbreak Warfare in this matchup.
Not for nothing, Gateway to the Dead would be a great name for like a John Mayer trio cover band or something like that. Just something super random like that.
I agree. Who Says versus On the Way Home, the 314 in this bracket. I feel like Who Says was probably the obvious winner for a lot of people. But having said that, On the Way Home, I do believe is my favorite song off of Paradise Valley. So
yeah, I like On the Way Home too. It's one of those jams that like I came back from a John Mayer concert when I was in college. I was driving back and forth. I think this one was like 6 hours away in Darien Lake, upstate New York. And I was driving back and I was literally falling asleep at the wheel, and On the Way Home came on and it woke me up. So I really enjoyed it. But easy song to kind of jam to like a guitar. In terms of Who Says, that's like an iconic song for his career because it was almost the one that sent him down that path with the Rolling Stone cover and all that for everything. You don't have Paradise Valley without Who Says because it sent him down that negative path. And when he lost him, he's probably like, I wish I never wrote this song. But at the same time, for us, we're sitting here like, this is great. This is a great song, and it produced great music afterwards.
Yeah, I would say for me, like every time I think of the song, it's a mile marker like that, right? Like there is something so clear. There's the monument on the side of the road when this song came. And so I think the influence trumped a lot. Like any song that would have gone up against this would have had a pretty tough time because it's got such monster influence as far as that trajectory.
I have to say for myself, I don't think I've liked a lead single since Waiting on the World to Change. That was probably the last time I liked a lead single, like right off the bat, off a John Mayer record. So when I first heard Who Says, I was like, all right. Like it was off the heels and Continuum, and it didn't have any, electric guitar, didn't have any of that when it first came out. And now obviously it's grown into a song that everyone enjoys and an obvious winner over On the Way Home. But I do think that like a lot of his songs, it might be something that you appreciate when you're ready to appreciate it, if that makes sense.
It's like a layered comedy. Like people always talk about a lot of those like Will Ferrell comedies, the one that get funnier over time because there's so much stuff in there. The more and more you listen to this one, I feel like you get a better sense for the part that's for you.
Moving on to Born and Raised versus 3x5, the 710 in the Dreams to Remember region. Matt, what's up with this?
So this one was really tight, man. Like it was 52.4% in favor of Born and Raised. And I was kind of surprised that so many people were on the Born and Raised bandwagon. Like I get it's a end of set, recent Mayer tours, plays it a lot, it's the story of his life. But musically, it's okay. Like 3x5 to me is a legendary John Mayer song. Like it's a top 10, a top 15. Of course, I had to seat it a little bit lower just because, again, notoriety, what people know and everything. But it's a song that transcended time, like written in the early 2000s. It's 2020, and the song is still relevant. Like, stop taking your phone out, stop recording everything, go watch the sunset with your own eyes and enjoy it. Like, I love that message, and it resonates, and it's probably going to resonate forever, at least in our generation.
For sure. Mike, your thoughts?
My phone stuffed at a sunset, like coming back. I forget where I was coming back from, but like I was driving on 84, coming back home to where I live in Connecticut. And it's like this, it was coming from 91 onto 84. And there's this big turn and you see the sunset over the city. And even in a place like Hartford, that's not all that special, all things considered, you just kind of stop and drink in that moment. So it's very time and place for me like that. And you're right. It's the message that we probably need now as much as we have before.
Yeah. Hartford especially is very stop and drink as well.
Yes.
I also would have gone 3x5 in this matchup. Born and Raised won, which I was a little surprised at, but I was wondering if perhaps that was just people looking at the seating or if that song really is better liked than 3x5, because 3x5 is, as we've already gone over, just a fantastic song. And I think really what brought that Columbia version of Room for Squares over the top compared to the original release. And that brings us to New Light and Wheel. And this, you had a major complaint with me on this one, with Wheel being a 15 seed.
It's one of my favorites. It really is. And I think in terms of the seeding too, you'll notice some of my favorite John Mayer songs are the 15, the 16 seeds. Like when I was in college, I did a radio show. We had one segment where we had to rate the best John Mayer songs of all time. And me, I'm younger. I'm a 20-year-old kid. I don't really know what I'm doing. I take all my favorite Mayer songs, Covered in Rain, Wheel, 3x5, seeds 1, 2, 3, Gravity's like a 9, Slow Dancing's like a 10. And the guy who was hosting the show at the time goes, yo, no one knows what any of these songs are that you love. So like when I'm coming back here, I'm like, this is my redemption. Putting together this Mayer bracket, I'm like, I'm not going to overseed these teams. And I actually wound up underseeding it. But Wheel's like, it got me through some tough times. I think New Light, like, it's a jam. It's fun. It's an end of the concert, confetti flying in the air. It's only a 2 seed because of the streams and how many people have listened to it recently. It's one of his latest hits. I think probably, like, if you're asking me in terms of like how good of a song it is, it's probably like a 6 or a 7 seed. But because of streams, it's a 2. And it won that matchup 67 0.9% of the vote. I was actually surprised it wasn't closer.
Yeah, this is one of those because the nature of the seeding too, and like starting to do the bracketology of this, looking ahead and seeing in my mind, I'm like, all right, as I set up this bracket in my brain, it's going to be going against 3x5, and I think it's going to get clubbed over the head. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Clearly, other forces prevailed in this.
Yeah, I have to be honest. The first time New Light was played for me, I was like, "Is this like disco-y? I don't get it." And I've grown to really like it since. But I almost feel like arguing Wheel above New Light in this case is like being like, "I'm a true fan, man." Like that type of like. It's clearly everyone loves New Light. Like it's his biggest song in probably the past couple of years by far. Did really well. People love it. It was I think the only song that was probably played every show of the summer tour, and so it was always a good time. Always had the confetti cannons, and so New Light, Wheel just went up against a juggernaut, and a more recent juggernaut in this case. Want to go to Go Cry About It? Why don't you?
Yeah, let's do that.
At the top of my all right, go Cry About It. Why don't you? On the other side of the bracket, which kicks off with our eventual champion, Slow Dancing in a Burning Room versus Covered in Rain, and that.
I'll let Golic go first on this one. Let him say what he has to say.
Yes.
Yeah, this was by far my biggest complaint of the entire tournament. Covered in Rain was one of those as I started to like when I was younger get into the live albums, and someone introduced me to the idea that like City Love and Covered in Rain are this pre and post 9/11 love affair in the city, and you get drowned in all that. And again, like the live version kicks such serious ass and has such an unbelievable solo built into the middle of that. I was like, there is no way on God's green earth this song could have been done more injustice in all of this. And so this is what really launched my my journey into this bracket. So thank you for that gift, because it lit the fire under my ass. But also this was definitely the seeding I had the biggest issue with, which it sounds like you do too.
Yeah, I wanted it to be higher too. I mean, it's a top 3 for me. Like I love the song. It's one of my favorites. It's actually one of those where I was like, you know what? It's not on an album. Like it is like on stream it. You can stream it, but he didn't put it on a record. So I kind of take that into consideration. Like when I'm putting the bracket together, I'm like, Covered in Rain might not even make it. But at that point, I'm like, it's got to at least go on. So I made it a 16 seed. But honestly, I was waiting for the police to show up at my door because so many people were calling me criminal for putting it 16. Like it was like people with the pitchforks, the Simpsons, where they're all walking with the pitchforks and the fire and the angry mob. Like that was that with Covered in Rain being a 16 seed. But that said, little peek behind the curtain, when you do a song like that down low and make it a 16 seed, more people talk about it, and it helped build the exposure to the bracket, which it did its good. That wasn't the intention by doing it. The real intention by putting it where it was I was like, you know what? Slow Dancing's a really good song. It could win. But it would be a monumental upset if Covered in Rain, a 16 seed, could beat this good of a song. And if there was any song that was going to be lower seeded that could win a matchup like this, it was going to be Covered in Rain. So that's why I put it there.
I want to take you guys back to June of 2005, my junior prom, and I was like class president, so I got to decide certain things. And at one point, they were like, "Hey, we need a slow song to play," and I was like, "Oh damn, we're gonna play Covered in Rain." And let me tell you, the confusion about an entire class of high school kids as a 10-minute long live solo thing plays in a like a Hyatt ballroom was just unparalleled.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Just spinning Any Given Thursday in a junior prom ballroom.
I was like, wait, everyone doesn't love this? Are we? But that song is like, I hear, and maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I want to say they tracked it a fair amount of times for like the Heavier Things sessions, if I remember correctly, but apparently it didn't translate on studio, and so they just never put it out. And I am shocked every time there is a September 11th show or a show that John plays on September 11th and that song is not in the set list. It seems like a slam dunk to me, and yet you rarely hear it.
I think he doesn't know how to play it, to be honest with you.
I feel like he could figure it out, figure his way through it.
I watch a lot. I'm one of those crazy John Mayer fans that sits there and like YouTubes for like the weirdest covers and live versions of whatnot. And there was one guy who was a crazier fan than us that was probably more qualified to put the bracket together. He went to like 80 shows, and this was like his 80th show. And he had a sign saying, "It's my 80th show, John. Like I'm so happy to be here." And he goes, "What do you want to hear?" And the guy, of course, goes, "Covered in Rain," screams "Covered in Rain" at him. And he goes, oh, okay. And like he tries to play it, he like forgot the words to it. So like I think that's part of it. You know, we as fans look at a body of work and we're like, this is such a big deal. But for him, he's probably like, yeah, whatever. It's covered in rain. I wrote it when I was like in my 20s. Like,
but that is the influence of the Dead, I think, was seen in this last tour, both with the two sets. And I love that now, like, it's possible to get a deep cut because, you know, part of the whole thing with the Grateful Dead is like, you got to know all these songs and they go on forever. And so I think that has at least translated. And I think maybe as it goes on, as that gets more into his DNA, we will start to hear these deeper songs and deeper cuts, excuse me. But I just want to note for the people who are listening, I can see your stuff in the chat. We appreciate you tuning in. What's fun about this for, I think, the three of us is we've literally never spoken. And tonight we were just like, hey, let's talk about John Mayer songs. So an escape from quarantine as we head into the 8-9 matchup, In the Blood versus Clarity in this round.
Yeah,
Matt, what's going on there?
This was tight, man. 51.7% of the vote for In the Blood. It was a toss-up. It's literally a coin flip. I'm pretty sure In the Blood only won because it was the higher seed. Like, I feel as though like 4 to 5% of each vote actually has to do with the seeding because people are just going to vote with the higher seed. Oh, scrolling on Twitter, yeah, sure, I'm going to click that. It's higher seeded. Like that happens a lot. I do that with polls too. In the Blood is one of those newer Mayer songs that people actually relate to, and it was nice to see it advance because it was proof that people are listening to the new stuff. And you're familiar with Sirius. I was listening to the highway once, and this song came on the highway. So it came on the country radio. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, this kind of transcends. I was waiting for it to actually make a bigger radio splash, but for me, it's a good song. Clarity doesn't do it for me. It's a listen, but it doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah, I voted In the Blood through on this one. This is another one where like I tried to, because of like all the past bias we talk about, just go back and listen to the matchups as I was going through and doing them and really pick it apart. And In the Blood won out again. Like, this is probably an appropriate 8-9 seed here because of like the earlier like Continuum era Mayer stuff. Clarity probably on the weaker end of that, certainly.
I also, I think, probably voted for In the Blood here just because I do think it's a deeper song. That being said, I like Clarity a lot because I still remember like this 2004 performance from like Red Rocks, like Pepsi Smash, where he played Clarity, I think, for one of the first times. And that's still a fun song. And I think Questlove actually plays drums on that, which is kind of an underrated thing. But we go to, I guess I just feel like versus Comfortable, which just.
So this was the 12-5 upset. This was the one in my mind putting the bracket together. I'm like, if a 12 seed's beating a 5, I intended for Comfortable to win this one with the seeding. Like, Comfortable should be a higher seed. I was hoping for the 12-5 upset. It still didn't win.
I know.
I was shocked. And I guess I just feel like the song is okay. You know what I mean? Like, when it first came out, I was like, all right, this is his take on John Lennon's Imagine. Like, he's trying to have that song that kind of impacts everyone and gets played in all these commercials and whatnot. It really didn't do it. Comfortable, awesome song, co-written by Clay Cook, who's in the Zach Brown Band, and the guy is unbelievable. If you ever go to a Zach Brown Band show, Clay Cook is all over the stage. Like, it's actually his concert, and Zach Brown is just the guy kind of standing in the middle. Like, he's the Wizard of Oz, pulling all the strings and everything. Comfortable is a masterpiece of a song and really gives you a walk down memory lane. Like, everyone's had that story of what Comfortable is, and I was upset to not see it advance.
That was another song very much like Covered in Rain. That's like so near and dear to my heart that the thought of it not winning was so foreign to me, especially like I don't know, like when I think of, I guess I just feel like the song feels as flippant as the title and like the general theme tend to be. It's like that can't win against all of like the love and familiarity of a song like that. But I had no idea that about Clay Cook. Randomly enough, I did a digital show before the national championship for college football when it was in Atlanta, and Clay is down there and came on the show with us. He and I were like a mutual Twitter follow and like had exchanged notes here and there, but we had him on the show with us there. Like, awesome dude. I had no idea he had ties to this song, so I am thrilled now.
Oh, he's very tied to the John Mayer world. They used to be like a duo together.
There's actually, if you YouTube it after the show, there's a version of Clay Cook playing Comfortable, and it's actually better than some of John's.
This song for me, like, I really liked, I guess I just feel like, but I mean, in the canon, Comfortable obviously has at this point much more influence, but I guess I just feel like if you go by the 3 songs that were released after the last record, which I kind of see them as like a little suite of like New Light, Carry Me Away. I guess I just feel like was my personal favorite, but it's the one that probably did the least. And I thought that was really interesting because it's the one that sounds the most like older John Mayer stuff. And so I was surprised to see it win here. And I don't know if it was just, it is a new generation of fans looking at this and being like, well, that's the one I know. But that was definitely a surprising victory in this matchup. Belief, Something's Missing, the 413 and the Go Cry About It, Why Don't You region. I think the right song won here. That's Belief. Matt, what say you?
Yeah, I don't think we need to spend a total amount of time here. I think Something's Missing is for the people who have great life situations and still feel depressed sometimes. I can relate to the song, but Belief is still the better song, 65.6% of the vote. And Belief is one of those songs like the gift that keeps on giving, right? It's pretty good on its recorded version. It's really good in the Where the Light Is version. And then when you listen to it acoustic, it like blows your mind. Like you get the goosebumps and the chills all over the place. There's actually a version. I was doing a bracket breakdown with Julia. She does radio down in Chicago, and she was explaining the simmering version. It was actually called simmering back
then. Yeah, an Untitled One.
It was like the demo version of it, but that turned into Belief. You listen to that, it's pretty cool just to kind of hear the acoustic version of it and how it built through all the ranks. And I really like the song.
Yeah, I would say Belief an easy winner in this one for all the reasons you guys mentioned. Like this is another one you just sort of like skipped right through it. Like casual fan, it's the meme like deep John Mayer fan, casual fan meeting in the middle on Belief.
Belief was a cool song. At that simmering version, that is the last time I really remember John playing songs like that would be up in the set list at johnmayer.com that weren't out and released yet, really. And there was Untitled 1, I believe, which was Belief, and Untitled 2, which became I Don't Trust Myself. But even the lyrics of Belief that aren't even in the final version, like it's like sleeping at the crash site, resting on the wreckage. There's these cool lyrics in there, and there's a show if anyone wants to download it when they get a chance. The quality is amazing. It's from Brandeis University, and I want to say it's March 14th, 2004, if I'm remembering, because I've listened to it so much of my life that like that is a very good show to hear from that tour. But Belief, the clear winner there, as we go to You're Gonna Live Forever in Me versus Dreaming with a Broken Heart. Mike, why don't you start us off on this 6-11 matchup?
This was the ultimate test of like what was in my heart versus what I believed was actually the better song in this one. And like Dreaming with a Broken Heart was like high school breakups and all of that stuff in there. Like it had all of that like familiarity caked into it for me. But every time I went back around to it and kind of asked myself honestly about this one, I don't know. I just kind of kept coming back to If You're Gonna Live Forever. Like there ended up being more depth. There ended up being more things that maybe now as an adult I look at and go, oh yeah, those are things that feel a little more concrete in the same subject matter than the stuff I used to identify with in Dreaming with a Broken Heart. Even though, like, I don't know, Dreaming with a Broken Heart is a classic, but it's still, for me, lost here.
You know, this is one of those situations where it's like Dreaming with a Broken Heart is like one of those things that has always been there for you, right? Like, it's a box of macaroni and cheese. Like, it is in your cabinet. You can always eat it whenever you want. You're Gonna Live Forever in Me is like zoodles. You know what I mean? Like, it's good. A lot. It was 74.9% of the vote went to Dreaming with a Broken Heart. And it's actually pretty cool. When you see him play it at concerts, he now does it on the 12 string and then goes into Walk Grace. So that's a whole new environment of which you just started to listen to the song. Like when I first heard it at the Barclays Center, I think it was probably like 6-7 years ago now, I got like chills up and down my spine. I'm like, whoa, this guy brings out a 12 string and starts playing this. It was unbelievable.
I missed most of that because my internet jumped out, but the end I heard, and that does sound like an incredible combination that I haven't listened to in a while. And
I do have one follow-up off that. It was in the part that you missed, Matt, when you said you pitted the piano against piano. I wondered, looking at some of these, because there were some stylized that matched up. Were you like cognizant of that in certain matchups? Was that something that went into play more than once?
Yeah, in certain things. I also had a lot of second round matchups in mind too, so I was trying to stay kind of in a ballpark. And you'll see as we go down the rest of this region, there's a couple of second round matchups that I was trying to make happen that didn't happen. And yeah, the first round matchups too, like a lot of the 1 seeds, I was trying to give easier roads, and slow dancing, I give a harder road. Yeah, there was a little bit of a different nuance to everything.
Cool. Sorry, everything crashed on my end now, but we are back in shape. Where were we? Dream with a Broken Heart. You're Gonna Live Forever in Me. You're Gonna Live Forever in Me to me sounded like it was like tailor made for a Pixar movie, but I still really, really like it. Like I've always kind of seen that as like the characters on the bus with like a bindle and is like looking out as they leave the town. I don't know, like some horribly sad thing. But I would have been happy with either song winning there. Now this next one, this is a tight matchup in my opinion. In Your Atmosphere versus Whiskey, Whiskey, Whiskey. Matt.
Not a tight matchup. Not a tight. In Your Atmosphere is legendary. Like that was a potential winner for this bracket. Like I felt bad for any song that I put against it. And Whiskey was just one of those songs. Like at the most recent concert I went to, he played the song. It was great. He kind of forgot the words to it. But like for me, the album was very, resonated when I was in college. And as a college student in a fraternity, I was drinking a lot of whiskey. So like when I was depressed, like this was the song, Whiskey, 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 Water, Water, Water. Yeah. That was the jam. But yeah, the votes really played out on this one as well. In Your Atmosphere, 79.8%. I agree with the majority there for sure.
Yep, that was a no-brainer one for me. And I, like you said, I like Whiskey, 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 but in general, it's kind of, even on that album, felt like a placeholder. Like it was a good breath like that. It served its purpose, but not really much more than that.
Do you remember when they tried to change the name of In Your Atmosphere to LA Song briefly, and then like no one called it that and just that got abandoned? I was always very happy that they finally did on that when it was actually released on something. They went with the In Your Atmosphere as the name. Half of My Heart, Love on the Weekend, the 710, and the Go Cry About It, Why Don't You region. Matt.
Yeah, I was crying about it. I wanted Love on the Weekend to move on. That was the song that I got engaged to when we were at Madison Square Garden over the summer. It was funny because going into the whole thing, long story short, I was trying to get John to recognize it. Didn't happen. But I was hitting up like David Ryan Harris, who was hitting me back nonstop. And he was like, I can't tell you where it's going to be played in the set, but it's going to be played in the set tonight. Cause like that was like the one song, like we did Long Distance for a while. And this song's really about doing a long distance relationship and the excitement that you get of getting out of work on a Friday, picking someone up at the airport, and then having a great weekend with them. So it was very personal to me. But in terms of the whole story of hearing it throughout a set list and everything, it was number 2 on the set list. So like I'm sitting there. I'll give you the full story, dude. Like I was having an anxiety attack the whole day, like nonstop. I got this. My mom has the ring, so I buy my parents, my sister, her husband, her parents, her sister, all tickets to the concert. So they have the ring. I don't have the ring. I'm having anxiety about getting the ring or them seeing us at the concert. We're floor level, right in the center. They're up straight ahead, so I'm like hoping she don't see them. So I'm like, all right before the show starts, I'm like, I got a stomach ache. I got to go to the bathroom. So I run upstairs. I get the ring from my mom. I put it in my pocket. I go into the bathroom, and literally like a scene out of the movie, I'm like having a panic attack. Like, I don't know what to do. This doesn't fit my pocket. I'm fat. She's going to see it. I'm screwed. Blah, blah. I even at one point went to a cop and said, can you hold this? And when I flag you down, just bring it over. And he's like, no, dude, put it in your pocket.
You don't do that.
It's funny because later on the cop wound up actually knowing her cousin, but like that's a whole different story. So I went and I get a pretzel and like I put the pretzel over the ring and I sit down. I'm like sitting like this, like just trying not to have her notice it. And she goes, why are you sweating and out of breath? Because I had sprinted to the upper deck to get the ring and was having an anxiety attack. And I look at her and I'm just like, yeah, I just have really bad diarrhea. Like it'll be fine. So she's thinking that I'm sick. We got these super expensive John Mayer tickets and we're going to have to go home. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here like she just found out. She she just found out. I don't even remember what the first song was. I really don't. All I remember was the second one was Lovin' the Weekend, and I was like, thank you, Jesus, because now I can get on my knee, get this out of the way, and get back to the show. And it was so funny because, like, I didn't even know what to say to her. Like, it was the worst engagement proposal of all time. I was just like, hey, this is our song. And I got on her knee and just asked her to marry me. It was great. And, like, we had a great moment. It was awesome. It's the end of the song. It was beautiful. And then, like, the next song comes on. I think it's, like, Who Says? And I'm just back to, like, jamming, enjoying the song. Like, weight of my, like, worries is now off of my shoulders. And she's, like, looking at me like, hello. We just got engaged.
I love your fiance must be like, how was your engagement? She's probably like, oh, it was great. He did it really quick because he just wanted to get back to the enjoying the job.
That show, I'm so happy it was so early in the set list though, because I would not have made it to song number 8, where he was playing it earlier. I thought 8 would be perfect. It's the middle of the show. She'll have no idea. Thank God it happened at number 2. And the thing was too, like, he was looking at us the rest of the show, so I think he kind of had an idea. I wound up getting like a sash that said Future Groom, so like he probably put 2 and 2 together. We were close enough to where he could see it, so that it was like a special moment in that regard. But at the same time, like, it was a crazy night, man.
Is there any concern on your end? Is there any concern on your end that when he saw the Future Groom sash, he was under the impression you were trying to make a pass at him?
No, I don't think so, because I had the arm around her the whole time. Like, right. Slow Dancing in a Burning Room comes on, which is a breakup song, and we were freaking slow dancing. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? It was one of those nights you just throw everything out the window. I was dancing like a fiend. It was best night of my life by far. But then bringing it back to this bracket, which is what we're actually talking about here, it lost to the Taylor Swift song. Like, are you kidding me? Lovin' the Weekend's one of the best new songs he puts out there. I make it a 10 seed so we can get an upset here. And Half of My Heart, terrible radio song, moves on. Whatever, that's life.
Mike.
I have nothing to follow that up right now. He's absolutely right on all of that. And now all I can think of is my favorite moment in that story is where you have to choose between awkwardly admitting why you were sweating or faking diarrhea, which ended up being the choice you went with, which is just the chef's kiss on top of an unbelievable
What else
story.
are you supposed to say in that situation? Yeah, I just ran around, like, it's a hot summer day. Like, that's all I had.
Love on the Weekend is, and as I said, I haven't liked a lead single in a while, but that song originally I was like, but it is incredible, and I know it's very special to you, Matt. It's incredible the way people sing it live. It's like, wow, this has resonated with a lot of people, which is great. And the one thing I do want to say about Half of My Heart, and keep this in mind next time you listen to it, is I played it when it first came out years ago. I'll never forget my radio co-host at the time going, "Is this the Growing Pains theme song?" And I was just like, oh my God. And so,
oh no, forever unclean now.
Yeah, exactly. Daughter's Paper Doll, the 215 in the Go Cry About It, Why Don't You region. Mike, you want to lead this one off?
Yeah, sure. I'll take this one.
Okay.
So Daughters was going to move on here. Paper Doll, probably a little underseeded. A lot of people like that song a lot. And for me, the only reason it wasn't a 16 and it was a 15 was because he dragged Taylor Swift across the floor. Like, he took her by her blonde hair and dragged her across the floor and said, "Don't you ever put a hit song out on me, ever again." Like, he destroyed her. I remember sitting in my fraternity house when it came out, freaking out, being like, "Oh my God, this guy just dropped a diss track on Taylor Swift." So Paper Doll is a cool song. Daughters is a legendary song. But again, when I said I was trying to set up a second round matchup, I was trying to set up Half of My Heart versus Paper Doll, if that were to actually happen, because then we have the Taylor Swift song with the song where Taylor Swift's getting dragged across the floor. I mean, obviously it was never going to happen, but that, in my mind, I'm like, maybe that could happen. It would be cool. But no, Daughters is a winner.
A true artist is never appreciated in their time. That is masterful craftsmanship right there. But yeah, Daughter's a no-brainer here, but anytime someone like John Mayer is throwing out diss tracks, you just have to stand and applaud.
Unbelievable.
I am not of the belief that Paper Doll is about Taylor Swift.
Really?
What?
I think it's more about somebody else. I mean, I'm sure I don't see the Taylor Swift compare. Now, granted, this is what I've been told from people in the industry. Who's to say? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, John's never come out and said anything, and perhaps I'm off base, but I always thought that was about a different person that he would have been seeing at the time. But that's that's just one man's opinion. Daughter's the clear winner there. Paper Doll, I will say, one of those songs that I do think is far better live, and is that song was definitely one where you could hear the solo when the first time you hear the studio recording and understand how it was going to play live. There's a great version, if you look it up, from the Roots Picnic, if either one of you were there, because it was a New York City show, but it's played with horns and stuff. And I wish that there was a high quality recording of that. It's on YouTube somewhere because it's fantastic. Where do you want to go next?
Let's scream at the top of our lungs.
And thanks to the people who are sticking with us, watching three dudes just indulge in their love. You don't get a lot of. What's great is you don't get. You guys both work in sports radio. I work at Sirius XM. I think it's fantastic to just sit around and nerd out over John Mayer, because if you were doing this about, let's say, the New England Patriots or something, nobody bats an eye. But the minute you say like, "Oh, I'm going to host like a John Mayer podcast," they're like, "What?" And it's like, no, you don't get it. You don't get it.
I always said it's like it's the relief.
Yeah, exactly. Scream at the top of my lungs bracket. No Such Thing versus Say, and that is where you said your personal bias got involved, making Say a 16 seed.
Yeah, I think we could spend a lot of time breaking down all these matchups. I don't need to say much here. I'll say what I need to say. Say sucks. The lyrical quality to it is terrible. Radio hit, theme song to one of those stupid movies, whatever it is.
The Bucket List. Never saw it.
Whatever the hell it is. The song's a radio. Let's make some money. You know what? That's all I need to say about it. No Such Thing as a far superior song.
Much in the same way that Don't Speak with Run the Jewels is like the current song that opens up every trailer to any sort of like young comedy right now, like young edgy comedy. Say is 100% that for every early 2000s rom-com. 100% the intro, like the intro, like preview song.
Yeah, I mean, No Such Thing, clear winner here. So we'll just move on to the 8-9. I'm going to Find Another You versus Wildfire. Mike, do you want to start us off this time?
This one, because I really like Wildfire. This is one where I just couldn't trump. Like, I'm going to Find Another You was the song that got me through like my first real, like, like you're in high school and you think you're in love and all that stuff. And then it goes south. Like, I'm going to Find Another You on an album that just oscillated between like different versions of breakup songs. Was like the hopeful F off, like I'm going to be better for it. It's short, but it's got so many like good notes to it in there. I couldn't go against my heart on that one.
Yeah, I was fine with either result in this situation. I personally like Wildfire just because it's rare that John Mayer puts out like a clap your hands, like let's have fun song. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate those a little bit more. And on that tour, the Born and Raised tour, he was playing that like first song on every single one. So I really enjoyed that. And Wildfire is like the story of my like summer in college. And yeah, that's why I picked it.
I remember there was like when it first came out, I don't know if it ended up making the record, but he thanked certain friends for like their hand claps on a track. And I just remember thinking like, wait, that could happen. I could actually play on a John Mayer record. Like I can't play any instruments, but I could definitely do a hand clap or two. I think, I don't know what I honest to God don't remember what I voted here, but I would have been happy with either one winning. Heart of Life versus Carry Me Away. I personally, I'm going to start this one. I went with Heart of Life right there. Carry Me Away is a great song, and I definitely like what happened. I think it builds really well, and the end of it, I think, is very, very cool. But I feel like Heart of Life is kind of more legendary as far as John's songs go.
So I have to say these things just kind of like knowing that John might listen to this somehow in some random world. Like, I don't like Carry Me Away. I listened to it the first time. I'm like, okay, like it'll come on. I'll bop my head to it and everything. But like, this is like last on my list. Like, I have felt like that this song is a current mood song. Like it kind of feels like this new light. Like it just sounds like a song he's going to sing on current mood and you're going to listen to it. It doesn't mean it's a bad song, but like you got to hold these songs up with the weight of the other songs. If you're going to tell me Carry Me Away is going to be a single that's released to the public, but In Your Atmosphere isn't. You know what I mean? Covered in Rain isn't, but this is. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I was a little against the song in that regard. It's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. Heart of Life's a great song. And in my opinion, should be higher than a 5 seed. But by the way it lost out, maybe it was where it should be.
I don't see a lot of songs that would have made that I would have jumped in the other 4 seeds, but it is a very good song. Mike.
Yeah, Heart of Life, as someone who works with their dad literally every day, it's hard to like not internalize so much of this song and like see it play out all the time. And like I don't know, just in general, I kind of side with you more, Matt, on the opinion elsewhere. So Heart of Life was an easy winner here.
I Don't Trust Myself versus Back to You in the 4-13 in this round. I mean, this is, to me, I Don't Trust Myself was the easiest pick so far that we've discussed.
Yeah, it was my number one. Like, it is my number one John Mayer song. It is my favorite song. It's one of those jams too that you listen to it on the album, and you're like, this is a really good song. Then you hear it live, and you're like, you make that face, and you're like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you just groove with it. And then like he gets to that part where he's like, who do you love? Like he's doing it at the end. He does the whole thing. Like, I get upset, and I like Carlos, his backup singer. Like, and I like that he gets the opportunity to sing something, but like I get sad when Carlos sings that, because that's like where John can like show off his little range and his falsetto. So you got to go listen to the older versions, like the Where the Light Is, and when he played the 2009 in Toronto. Like those are the sickest versions of that song. It's a great song.
Yeah, I mean, this is in my mind no contest. I Don't Trust Myself has a little bit of everything. Back to You is kind of all the things that we've said about like the worst songs in this one. Like it's just sort of candy pop played on a loop, like where all the soul that I Don't Trust Myself has is completely mirrored by the complete lack of it there. So walk away.
The solo on the end of Back to You live though used to rip, if I remember correctly. That was one redeeming quality of that song live.
You know what I mean? Like it takes to the end of the song for like, this is good.
Queen of California versus Helpless. I went Queen of California, even though Helpless I love, and I think it's like the spiritual successor to Only Heart. But I'm a big Queen of California guy, especially live. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, Queen of California, hands down on this one. I think on that album, that's probably one of my favorites too. So ultimately, easy choice for me on this one.
Yeah, I would say in terms of Helpless, it's one of those songs when he plays it live, it's actually worse than the studio version. And that's because they play it a little bit slower. I don't know whatever they have to meet to play it, but they play it like a half a beat slower, and it pisses me off every single time I see it live. Whereas for the live performance for Queen of California, there's actually, we talk about Who Says being like that start of like his, change in career. Queen of California is like the signaler of him coming back from his vocal surgery, because when he was coming on tour originally, he couldn't really hit a lot of high notes. Like he was in a certain range when he first came back from the vocal surgery. And Queen of California, he couldn't go, if you see it, like he couldn't go high, you know what I mean? He'd be like, if you see it, like he'd go low. So eventually on the tour, he hit that high note, and everyone was like, let's go, he's back, you know what I mean? Like, there was a moment there with that song, so that's why I really like that one. Helpless is a good one. I like Helpless a lot. Like I jam to it all the time in the car. Like I'll drive to work, like, that's a good one, but Queen of California has that sentimental value to it.
I agree. We did at SiriusXM. We did the in July. It was like July, I want to say 2nd, 2013, like right when he was coming back to tour. And we did like the rehearsal show. We broadcast the final rehearsal. There were probably like 300 people there at the Leah Chorus Center at Temple University. And I remember I was watching him play these songs, and I was like, oh no. So then it was great to hear later recordings in the tour where the voice was back and everything was sounding fantastic. Speaking of fantastic songs, a song that would go on to go really far and come out of this bracket, Why Georgia, the 3 seed versus Assassin. What do you guys think about this matchup?
Yeah, I think Why Georgia could have been a 1 seed. I think it had a legit argument to be a 1 seed. It's one of those jams that like it's one of those songs that like if you're if you're in your mid or early 20s or late 20s, like this might have got you into John Mayer. Like this might have been the first song that you listened to and said, oh, this isn't a radio hit, but I actually like this guy's music. It was almost like the gateway song for you to listening to everything else of his. Whereas Assassin is like a dope song. Like everyone's been an assassin at one point in their life. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. Like, and you're in college, you're an assassin at one point. But for John, he don't play that song anymore. So you kind of lose touch with it, which is why I rated it a little bit lower and why Georgia went on to make a really good run.
I think Battle Studies in general for me is like, it was like the album that was in the meat of like when I was in college, and I had such distinct memories of Assassin in my ears walking into O'Shaughnessy Hall in Notre Dame with like a light snowfall as I've just come off a weekend where I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I get what he's talking about here.
It's awesome. Go Irish, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of those that resonated. Like, this is one of those matchups where I go, man, I wish Assassin could have had any other one. Cause you're right. Why Georgia is like on the Mount Rushmore. To me, that one was going to win regardless. But I was just sitting there begging like, man, give Assassin somewhere else in all this one, because that whole album in general is probably, for me, it's like Kanye's 808s and Heartbreak, which is another one that came out in college. So maybe I'm just sort of, tied to it like that. But I think they end up being albums that probably weren't appreciated enough in real time.
Now, maybe this is my like Skip Bayless moment where I make the take that makes everyone go like, wait, what are you talking about? But I am under the impression that John doesn't really like Battle Studies anymore. What do you guys think about that?
That makes sense. He didn't really play any of the songs. You know what I mean? And maybe it's because he was going through a certain time of his life and he's trying to get away from being that person. I don't want to speak for him. You know what I mean? He literally wrote a song about speaking for him. So I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? But it just doesn't seem like that's a part of his life that he wants to revisit. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it just looks like it seems like an angrier time. I mean, especially if you watch the videos, like there's a show from, I think, Red Rocks near the end of that tour that they shot and streamed live at the time. And it just looks like
he was on something.
Not necessarily on something, but just like
for that show. I've watched that concert a lot of times, and believe it or not, that's one of those concerts that makes me want to go to Red Rocks. Like, that was so cool. Like, he wore the headband, he was like making faces and stuff. Like, that was an awesome show. Everyone should watch it. If you ever have like 3 hours you need to kill at like 2 a.m, you can't sleep, put that on.
Or just listen to the John Mayer Breakdown podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Like, 3 hours to kill. I think we call that a day
there's
that
like
why
people
right
in
now.
here that are into this right now. Like, we got people involved.
Yeah, appreciate it. Mike, do you feel that way about Battle Studies, or do you think that?
Oh, I mean, listen, I could see it because you're right. Like, it's a very specific theme, right? Like a lot of John Mayer albums, yes, like their place, and I guess that's with every artist, right? Like, they grow out of stuff, which is fine. It doesn't mean like I have to grow out of it, but as you see those ebb and flows, like, I get it. Like, I hate when people begrudge artists for growing up or growing out of a phase. Like, he's allowed to do that. I'm still allowed to think Battle Studies is dope on certain days.
Something like Olivia versus Waiting on the Day is a 710 in the Scream at the Top of My Lungs region. Matt, what made you put those songs there?
Yeah, I think they're good songs. They're not great songs. I think that's where you fall into the 7 to 10. Something like Olivia has a little bit more value in terms of being fun at a concert. People enjoy it. They dance to it. He mixes it with China Cat Sunflower from the Dead and Company. So that's fun to listen to. And Waiting on the Day, I feel bad for him every time I hear this song. I'm like, this guy cannot find love. He's been writing songs about getting heartbroken forever, and he's just waiting on his day. And I hope he finds it, man. Like, when John Mayer finally gets engaged or married, like, if it ever happens, I'm going to stand up and give the guy like a standing ovation because he's been trying to get this forever.
That's going to be like the Cubs winning the World Series for us. Like, that, it's going to be that cathartic moment in all this one. And let me just say that as a single 30-year-old, I see Waiting on the Day as a personal attack. So I voted something like Olivia through there on principle alone. And it's a great song, but I was tired of being attacked by that song the way John is.
It does bum me out listening to it, so I can only imagine how it might feel like an attack in that way, which brings us to Free Fallin' and Never on the Day You Leave. And so I'll start on this one. I voted for Free Fallin', but I believe it's the only time I voted for a cover in this bracket, because I thought that the bracket itself, if it was John Mayer songs, we should be voting for originals. That being said, there must be an entire generation of people now. Like, that John Mayer cover of Free Fallin' has been out for like 12 years. So there's got to be a large group of people that think kind of like that's what Free Fallin' is. But in my mind, I also voted for it because I think Never on the Day You Leave is the weakest song in the entire bracket.
That's tough, man. I've had conversations with a few other people, and they really like Never on the Day You Leave. You have to really relate to that song to love it. You know what I mean? I don't relate to that song, so I can't love it. People were mad at me that I was rating Free Fallin' as a 2 seed and Why Georgia as a 3. I probably could have flipped those two. Taking a cover and making it a 2 seed in a John Mayer bracket's kind of like an FU to John Mayer, but it's also a compliment to him in the same regard, because when I think about Free Fallin', I don't think, rest his soul, I don't think about Tom Petty. I think about John Mayer. And John Mayer at his shows has to explain before he plays Free Fallin' that he didn't write the song, that Tom Petty wrote the song. So he's made it so much of his own and has such a distinct take on it that it was enough for me to consider it one of his own songs. You know what I mean? And I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, never on the Day You Leave. I have a weird soft spot for that song, and like going back and revisiting for this bracket, I forgot how much. I don't really believe I can relate to it on any sort of level like that, but it still does something for me in a way. Like, I voted for Free Fallin'. It's objectively the better song. Anytime if you improve on a legend song like that, it deserves merit in its own right. And like you said, for all the other metrics that went into seeding for this one, like, it's the one most often referenced by my friends that are non-John Mayer fans. Like, they always bring that in, and it is treated like one of his.
Well, that wraps up the Scream at the Top of My Lungs region. Now to the fourth and final region, the Me and All My Friends region. And then I don't know what our plan is for the second round, but I don't think we have enough time to go through all 63 matches.
Probably after this region, just jump to like the Elite Eight of the Final Four, break and move on to the NIT quick.
Let's do this first, which is Waiting on the World to Change versus Quiet. And I got to ask, how did Quiet get in the tournament?
Oh, that's a personal thing. Like, I'm the kid or guy or whatever that lays in bed at night and can't seem to find the quiet inside my mind. You know what I mean? Like, I can't like, I'm always thinking about my life or work or what's next or, you know, how much something's going to cost for my wedding or whatever it is. Like, I'm quiet. And Waiting on the World to Change, I'm like, let's get a song that maybe can beat it. You know what I mean? Like, in my mind, I'm like, Quiet can beat it, even though it had no chance. But like, in my sick mind of being like a crazy John Mayer fan, I'm like, 16 Quiet maybe has a shot.
Yeah,
that would shocker of all shockers.
It is like the most relatable concept, though. So you can understand why, like, any of us who sit and like, I have to explain this to my dad because he's the polar opposite. Like, he gets to bed and he shuts off like that. But I am the same way. Like, as soon as I lay down, it's time to replay the Rolodex of everything that's gone wrong in the last, I don't know how many years. So that portion of it, Waiting on the World to Change was one of those songs that I think was so popular that I, like, as someone who considered themselves more of a John Mayer fan, I was like, all right, it's not that great. Like, let's kind of leave it alone. That was the most hipster I ever was about a John Mayer song when it was on radio.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I went Waiting on the World to Change there just because I'm not the biggest Quiet fan. Now it's probably an interesting time to mention that I went through the bracket and I broke down the songs by album. And the leading album, there was a tie with 11 songs each, Continuum and The Search for Everything. Both put in 11. Room for Squares, 8. Born and Raised, 7. Heavier Things with 6. Paradise Valley with 6. And Battle Studies only put 5 on the bracket. And then there were 10 that were like live cuts or Inside Wants Out or something like that. But Waiting on the World to Change with the 1 seed there off Continuum, the album that put the most songs on the bracket. And in the 8-9 of this one from The Search for Everything, Still Feel Like Your Man, and Born and Raised, Age of Worry. I had a brain fart there for a second. I was like, what is Age of Worry on? But that is Born and Raised. I think I went with Still Feel Like Your Man, which I really like, but Age of Worry was that was a great 8-9 matchup, Matt.
Yeah, this kind of shocked me, to be honest with you. Age of Worry is one of my favorite John Mayer songs. I think the message of it is super important, and especially now, people need to listen to that. Like, we're in the age of worry. Rage, do what you want, be happy, have fun, make the most of your situation. There's a reason at concerts he puts the words to the song on the screen. Like, he wants you to know what the song is saying. So I appreciate that song. Still Feel Like Your Man's a good, very good song. I didn't think it was going to win this matchup. What really surprised me, since we're going to kind of jump a couple regions after this, it beat Waiting on the World to Change. Like, Still Feel Like Your Man didn't just beat Age of Worry. It beat Waiting on the World to Change. Like, I was like, what, are you kidding me? Like, were people feeling some type of way out there? I didn't think the song was that good.
And that's the amazing part is, in my bracket, like the one that I filled out, Age of Worry was the one that beat Waiting on the World to Change, because I'm with you. Like, Age of Worry 2 is like, my mom has been to a bunch of John Mayer concerts, like has turned into a big John Mayer fan. And Born and Raised was like one of her favorite albums. And Age of Worry was something that like her and I vibed to pretty hard as like a song that we bonded over. And for all of those reasons, in addition to, I think it's just objectively a better song. I thought it was going to be the one to take down Waiting on the World. I'm 100% with you in being shocked at the results now.
Still Feel Like Your Man, I think, though, I think it was one of the better songs on The Search for Everything, and its vibe, and it was fun. And that, like you brought up Helpless before, Matt, how like live it's a little bit slower. I think that's kind of the case for Still Feel Like Your Man, in my opinion. But I think that song's fantastic. And I think it was Steve Jordan who said, like, originally it was written like a slow song, and it was so depressing and sad that they were like, no, we can't do this. And they had to remake it in the way that it was its final version, which I think ended up being the total right call, because I do think that's a jam as much as I like The Age of Worry. Edge of Desire versus Rosie, the 512 in the Me and All My Friends region. Mike, why don't you start us off on that one?
Yeah, this is me again. Like, I know I've kind of gone ad nauseum about the album, but Edge of Desire every time. So I had that one as the clear winner here. It's sort of like a trip in its own way.
Yeah, for Edge of Desire, it's a great song, and it's for the YouTube people, like the people who look up the John Mayer YouTube covers. Like if you ever see the Hollywood Bowl version where he's sitting there and he makes that speech for like 3 minutes about how, like, if you're laying on your bed and you got a black bear in your chest and it's making noises and you just want to see somebody, you should just tell them to come over. Like, that hit me once. I was like, whoa. I'm like, this is his best speech. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch that. That said, 12-5 upset. I thought maybe Rosie had a shot. I didn't think it was going to win, but I figured it would be closer. Edge of Desire got 77.5% of the vote. Like, people were not on board.
Wow. Rosie's
a great jam. Like, I get off the elliptical, get off the treadmill, I'm just jamming to the start of Rosie, Perdón, Lo Siento, I love those words. Like, that's a good song. It got a raw deal in this bracket, I think, for sure.
Dear Marie, Roll It On Home, the 413. Dear Marie, to me, I like, but the end of it always felt like it should be a Honda commercial. And Roll It On Home I want Dear Marie, but I feel
that's like a Goosebumps situation,
like
dude.
tailor-made for some type of auto commercial.
You get whoa when you're at a concert, like you get Goosebumps.
Yeah, but think about it, like it's like the family's piloting.
Dude, I used to run music in stadiums when I was at Penn State, whether it was Beaver Stadium, I was helping out over there. I did the hockey, did the basketball. Like, I was running music there, and for a time I was like, I'm going to take the end of Dear Marie and play it at the stadium and have everyone go, oh. Eventually decided against it because I'm like, people aren't crazy John Mayer fans. They're not going to get it. But, like, I thought to do that. That's how awesome the end of that song was. And that's, to this day, why it was a 4 seed and not a 5 seed. Edge of Desire should have been a 4 seed. Dear Marie was a 4 seed. It should have been a 5 seed. Whatever. I should have flipped them around. It probably would have been a whole different tournament. Rosie probably would have moved on. Who knows? Who cares?
I think we know 3 people that care way too deeply.
Yeah. What about that?
Yes,
oh my God. I voted.
Mike, would you vote in this one
too? I roll it on home is great, but I'm with you. Just something, and like we talked about it before. Like, if the basis for liking a song is it gets good at the end, it's like saying a show gets good in season 2. But it's like, no, Dear Marie, like, it was good at the beginning, and then you get all that good shit at the end too. So it's more of a build than it is just banking on the ending.
Fair enough. I agree with that point. I think it's only our second cover in the next matchup. XO versus My Stupid Mouth. I personally went My Stupid Mouth just because, like, I like XO, but My Stupid Mouth is like an original, and that salt and pepper shaker line. And all that
I felt that XO.
I've always loved that song.
When I was putting the bracket together, full disclosure, XO was like a 2 seed. Like, at the beginning of it, because I was looking at the streaming numbers and what people were going to like.
Wow.
And I was talking to my buddy Pete Blackburn, who's all over Twitter. He's a great follow, by the way. Like,
oh yeah,
he is an awesome follow and an awesome dude. Really knows his hockey. When sports come back, like, he's the place for the hockey gifts, and he's got great content. That's not even sports. I mean, he's a great follow. But he was talking about how great XO was, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, he hyped me into making it a 2. And then as I'm seeding it, I'm like, I can't put XO in front of this. I can't put it in front of this. I can't put it in front of this. I'm like, all right, I'm stopping it. It's a 6 seed. This is where it's going to be. I don't even like it that much. But My Stupid Mouth, I was like, we'll get an 11/6 upset. It's going to happen. Whatever. It did. When I probably underseeded My Stupid Mouth a little bit. Maybe could have been an 8 or a 9, but it got its win.
My Stupid Mouth, one of the more underratedly fun John Mayer songs. It always reminds me of the voicemail trick where someone gets on and fakes starting talking to you, and then they pause for a second, go, I'm just kidding, leave a message. Like that one more thing part where it like has that big drop off. For some reason, this song always comes on when I'm in the shower, and I always catch myself like every time, even still to this point, I'm like, oh man, did my Alexa start to like skip or whatever? Is there something wrong? Oh no, it drops right in there. Perfect.
I seem to remember from when Scotty Crow used to do like the road journals back when. I think like one time, and I may be remembering this wrong because again, there's nowhere to look any of this up anymore. It's just like how big of a fan are you from like straight up memories in high school. But I think one night he got to write the set list and he played the first half of My Stupid Mouth, played like 5 songs, and then did the one more thing part, which I always thought was like a funny idea to do with a set list. Next matchup. Stop This Train.
Yeah, Stop This Train is a freight
Come Back
train.
to Bed.
Like it ran through this bracket. It was a 2 seed that I made a 3 seed. It was an accident. I overlooked it. Should have been higher. Personal song. It's a relatable song, kind of like 3x5 that is going to transcend time forever. Like you're laying in there, you're like thinking about your mortality and like how like nothing ever matters, and you're like, yeah, stop this train. You're never going to stop it. You just renegotiate as you get older and older, and it's so damn true. Like looking in the mirror, I haven't got a haircut in a while. Hair's gray. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm engaged. Like you renegotiate with your life. You know, that's what this song's all about. And I really like it. Come Back to Bed's good, but it's not as good as Stop This Train. 80.9% of the vote went to Stop This Train.
This is one that made it really easy to fill out my bracket because I just took Stop This Train and I put it immediately in my final 4. And I said, all right, like I at least know how this side of it is going to go for me because this one is an absolute, it was like some of the most dominant first round wins I had in the entire tournament. So that one was a no-brainer.
I would be interested in seeing a 2020 version of Come Back to Bed Electric. Like, I feel like before Gravity, that was like the 12, 13-minute song. And I have this really good soundboard recording, I think from like somewhere in Germany, where you can actually, if you listen really closely, you can hear him mimicking the notes that he's playing, but like it's not like for the crowd. You gotta really listen though. But I've always thought that was like a really
deep cuts, man. Like you gotta send me some of your stuff on YouTube. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say
better stuff than I do, and I thought no one had better stuff than I did with that stuff.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I'll definitely send it out to you. Moving on and getting over, the 7 seed versus Bigger Than My Body 10. I voted for Bigger Than My Body. I think it's an underrated song. I still love it. That being said, I want to tell you guys a little story about Moving On and Getting Over. It was the most stressful, the first time I heard the song, the most stressful 5 minutes of my life. So I was out in LA and I went to lunch with Chad Franskowiak, who's like John's engineer. He mixes all his live shows. He's the nicest, most wonderful man. And we're talking and he's like, oh yeah, we're recording. They were recording the album at Capitol. He's like, we're recording at Capitol. And I was like, oh, weird. I'm doing an event there tomorrow. He's like, oh, you should pop in and say hello. Maybe you could like hear some of the record. And I was like, oh, really? Like, so that sounds like something I would like to do. So I'm around the whole day. We're doing this event. And this is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So it's like John's there. He goes in to like do some recording. And I'm in the studio. They're in Studio B. I'm in Studio A. My event finishes up. And I'm like, wanting to go knock on the door, but like I'm like really uncomfortable about it. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be like, hey, can I like hear your unreleased music? Like what if they say no, whatever? And like it is creeping to when I got to get to the airport, and it's right before Thanksgiving. So like if I miss this flight, there's no other flight. Like I'm just in Los Angeles, I guess, at that point. So I finally like Chad happens to come out and he goes, do you want to hear it? Do you want to hear some stuff? And I was like, sure, would like to. Go in. They sit me down in the middle of the room. Chad, John, and whoever else was in the studio stand behind me, and then they just start playing the song. So I am listening to this song as like fucking everyone's just watching me listen to it.
Anything.
And John is like, you know, to his credit, like hearing it. What is it? Yeah. Well, John is actually behind me because I turned around at one point and he is like kind of mimicking and like, oh, he said like, oh, we should change one thing or whatever. And I'm so stressed out by this that I am sweating so much that they must thought I was crazy. Like I left there and then I just like ran. I was like, thank you. And then like
I'm surprised you stayed conscious.
That one song to try and make my flight.
Standing behind me, I would pass out. Like would go hit the deck. There's like two people in the world that like if I saw them in person, I would lose it. John Mayer and Eli Manning, like two people like down on the ground, like all hail, whatever you need.
To John's credit, he has always been wonderful to me anytime I've interacted with him, and he obviously knows I'm a huge fan. Like one time he was like, dude, it's cool. Like he was like, he said this to me, which when you think about it, it's a super weird thing to say to a person, but was also reassuring. He's like, I like you. It's fine. Like because I was like clearly nervous about like being there one time.
That's so like
okay,
in
great.
tune
Okay,
and reassuring
cool.
though.
Fine.
Like of
Nice.
course he would know that like
right.
that's exactly what you need to hear in that moment because he's perfect.
One time, like there was one other time we did an event at Capitol, and they were there recording the Search for Everything so long that like they were there that day too, and that was incredible because Steve Jordan told me to come by that day. So it was Steve, Pino, John, Chad, and at the end of the day, I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go, let you guys work." Obviously, like of course, did not want to leave. Like the coolest thing I've ever been at, and John was like, "Oh, the trio's never together. You should get a picture." And I was like, "Oh, thank God," because like I didn't want to ask, like, but. I just always thought it was very nice for him to like be aware, like, you know, how big of a fan I am. And so, but I wanted to vote for Moving On, Getting Over solely because of that experience. But I figured Bigger Than My Body needed some help because I figured heavier things wouldn't get some love.
At the end of that story,
that was a very
when
long
you said
story.
You were sweating right there, that one of them was going to ask you why you were sweating so much, and you were going to have to say, "I just had really bad diarrhea."
One day you're going to be sweating for some reason. You're going to be late to your show or whatever it is, and you're going to be like, "Yeah, sorry, I had really bad diarrhea. That's why I'm sweating." You know what I mean? Like,
listen, I'm pumped.
We're in the gym hitting it up. You got it here. Get ready. For me, Moving On and Getting Over was the song for me. I was actually surprised Bigger Than My Body went as far as it did. I thought Moving On and Getting Over was going to be a Sweet 16 song. It was 50.6% of the vote went to Bigger Than My Body. Like that is as close as it got in this tournament. So it swung either way.
Wow.
Yeah. Mike,
no, this is a pretty mad one for me. Like Bigger Than My Body has always been a good, not great one for me. So Moving On and Getting Over, I picked that one. I didn't think too much about it, mostly because the one right below this is one of the matchup I had in my sights for a long time. So, yeah, St. Patrick's Day.
That one. 215.
St. Patrick's Day against Your Body Is a Wonderland. This was like my like little moment where I was like, you know what? Like I want to just be this agent of chaos. Like I went St. Patrick's Day. Like it is just that's a song for me that's again super time and place and all that one and like builds through all of this and like I don't think it's as deep as I think it is in my mind just because of the tone of the song, but it was deep enough for me to beat Your Body Is a Wonderland.
Yeah, I could say in terms of that song, like this is kind of where my seating got a little wonky, right? Because I made Say a 16 because it just regurgitates the same lyrics. Your Body Is a Wonderland is a similar song, but I think it's different in that like real Mayer fans can appreciate the song for what it is and for how much money it made him and how much it put him on a map. And he still plays it at songs and he appreciates it to a certain degree. It's one of those jams, like you go to a John Mayer concert and they don't play Say, you're not going to even think twice about it. You go to a John Mayer concert, you're a casual fan, they don't play Your Body Is a Wonderland. You're like, wow, they didn't play Your Body Is a Wonderland. I actually heard a girl say that on the way out of a show when I was leaving Jones Beach. So I had that in the back of my mind when I made it a 2-seed. I'm like, people care about this song. That said, I was excited to see it lose to Bigger Than My Body. Bigger Than My Body made a Sweet 16 run. Didn't think that was
wow.
It made a Sweet 16 run in this bracket, which I thought would probably be more possible for a Moving On and Getting Over. Again, that's why I'm like, I don't know how this happened, but Bigger Than My Body beat Your Body Is a Wonderland in the Battle of the Bodies.
I would say this about St. Patrick's Day. I think it is the closest thing John has to a Christmas song. And so I like listening to it at holiday time. Also, like, again, I'll mention a version. I don't know if you guys have. There's a version from 2005 that he put up on MySpace when it was the first snow of the year in New York City, which is great. It's just solo acoustic, and I think it's what that song should be. And on the subject of solo acoustic, I think that is what has helped the resurgence of Your Body Is a Wonderland, because it does have a different, more intimate atmosphere when it is played as a duo as opposed to electric. I I forget what I voted, but I think for as much as, and again, this is like, when you're like, oh, I'm a real fan, but I went Your
Is
Body is a
there certain
Wonderland, even
songs
though
for
I thought
you
that was the
for this
popular
song?
choice.
At the end of it is really when it gets me, when he goes, all we gave and someday we take that away. Like, he says it a different way at the end of the song. And I'm like, I wait to hear him sing it like that at the end of the song.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite part about that song. Like, you're just waiting for the end when he hits the note a certain way. It's a great song. And
yeah, if our always was all that we gave, and if we someday take that away, I always thought that was such a cool lyric. So that's definitely
is
underrated
using
song.
your boyfriend or girlfriend for a holiday, shame on you. Like, if you're the person he wrote this song about, I always thought that. I'm like, I hate whoever he wrote this song about. Seriously.
All right, so that's the end of the first
All
round.
I said
About an hour,
this
now
point.
15 minutes in.
Let's jump to the Elite Eight.
Do you guys want to rip through the rest of it? Anything anyone wants to call out the rest of this as we or we can move to the NIT, which I know has some discussion.
No,
points.
it's
The
not
NIT,
out there,
have
so
you
we can
put
get a
that
first
on
one.
Twitter?
I think here's the deal. I think we just put the bow on the tournament because we talked about every song we love, right? The final four wound up being Gravity, Why Georgia, Slow Dancing in a Burning Road, and Stop This Train. I think that is a genuine final four. No one's going to have a gripe about that. People aren't complaining about it. I think the best two songs were Gravity and Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. They both faced off in that finale. And it was a toss-up at that point. It was like 55% of the vote went to Slow Dancing. And it was surprising because, just putting the bow on it, the night of the national championship, The Bachelor show is on. I don't watch this Bachelor show, but apparently on The Bachelor, they sing. No, it's not. It's The Bachelor show. You know, it's not Bachelor in Paradise. It's not The Bachelor. It's this spin-off of The Bachelor that people are singing to each other, and that's how.
It's Listen to Your Heart, yeah.
So,
and the guy botched the lyrics.
So the first guy sings Gravity, kills it, and then the second guy sings Slow Dancing in a Burning Room and botches it really badly. So as that happens, I'm looking at the poll, and Gravity makes a comeback. They were down 15%. They pulled it within 5. Within that moment, I'm like, they're going to pull off, they're going to come back here and have an epic comeback of epic proportions. They didn't do it. Slow Dancing won. I think Slow Dancing was the song that should have won once you looked at all the polling and everything. Gravity had that first round, like, murder you, and then Slow Dancing just trained everybody from that point on, destroyed everybody.
Hearing that clown go, it's not the calm before the storm, and him to have the audacity to say, oh yeah, I love John Mayer, this song means a lot to me. I almost kicked my television. Yeah. I was furious.
That song, I will say, when John went back to touring, or maybe it was when John did that show for SiriusXM, that was the tour rehearsal, Slow Dancing, I think, was the first song he played. It's like, here's a little older one, and people went nuts. And I was like, oh, it never occurred to me how many people love this song. And I think also, I don't know if I saw it on like a John Mayer Reddit or if he posted it on his own Instagram story. I don't know, but it was like a sign at a Guitar Center that was like, John Mayer, thanks for writing like the new Stairway to Heaven. Like, I guess that's a song that a lot of people come in, and when they're testing amps, they just play that lick now. And it makes sense. But yeah, that song, people love it. And if I remember correctly, that was a song where he wrote he had this tune before the lyrics, which I don't think happens
Matt
that
said,
much.
That song is so good that people will ignore the fact that it's clearly like a breakup song and not anything that connotes like a good relationship, and still find themselves like slow dancing, having a tender moment to, because sonically it can still do all the things that like a good slow song does, even while it's tearing down the room around you.
Well, everyone's been in a slow dancing in a burning room situation. Like, everyone has gone through a breakup in their life. You know what I mean? Like, you've all been at that point where you're like, yeah, this isn't going to work out, but we'll see how long we can make it last. For me, when they play the song, I'm just pumped because when it gets to the end, I can say bitch. I can scream bitch without my lungs. You know what I mean? Like, everyone loves a good bitch. Like, rock concert and he plays cowboy, you're like, rock that bitch up and down the coast. You be a bitch because you can. Like, that's like, you get the curse at a John Mayer concert. That's the best part about it. to me. Like, and I've recorded I never record any songs at the John Mayer shows. I always record when he says that. Personal thing.
That's like the first time you get your parents are like, you're like, ask your parents like, oh, can I say that? And they like let you swear in some little instance in front of company. That's you're right. That is the payoff of the end of that song.
Do
Yeah,
you
one
wanna-
thing
do-
before we
shall we
do,
move to the,
Marcus has been in
the
the chat the whole
NIT?
time, and he said, "End of Dear Marie, too generic. Completely disagree. Think it's original. Think it's great. Love it. Thanks for supporting and thanks for watching this entire thing, Marcus."
Dude, I'm telling you, if you want to sell me a Honda Pilot, I'm all about it. But otherwise, like, I still like, it's fine.
Yeah, let's do the NIT.
So this
is the NIT. I will
NIT,
post it
this is
on
like
Twitter
a
officially
bracket
after
reveal.
This is over. But I think let's fill this thing out together. You know what I mean? It's not that big. I think we can probably fill out an NIT bracket together. Whatever, like 2/3 majority wins for advancing a song. Might as well. All right, I can take you through it.
I like it.
So first matchup we have is the 1 seed, Bold as Love, against the 8 seed, A Face to Call Home. Sorry, A Face to Call Home. People love.
See, you're really big on
freaking
this
out on me
Bold as
that it
Love
wasn't in the
situation.
bracket.
You
Like,
even
where's
said in
Bold
our
as
email.
Love? Why is Covered and Ready the 16 seed? Like, those people were
I gotta go the covers route where like A Face to Call Home, I think is honestly it's better than Bold as Love. Like, are we talking the studio version or talking the live version? Does it matter?
Song and remove it from the John Mayer Jams bracket. I did because I was trying to be fair to the covers and everything. But like in back of my mind, I'm like, if I do an NIT, it's the number 1 overall seed. It is split the tie.
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave this.
I went Bold
Golic
as
then
Love
to
on this
decide.
one. Like, even I get it's a cover. Like, the NIT is the perfect place for a song like this to shine, because I agree it would have been problematic if it was ranked too highly in the other one. This is where it belongs. Like, this song is just a thorough like shred from the opening part. It just pops you right in the mouth. You're ready to go.
I read the lyrics to A Face to Call Home every day because they printed I went to that like pop-up store that John had in New York City when Born and Raised launched, and they printed the lyric book wrong. Like there's a lyric wrong in there, and he corrected my book like an English teacher and wrote the right word, and I got that framed above.
It seems like you always have encounters with John Mayer.
So, well, that's just due to my job. I worked it in addition to like, so when I'm not, I host like a show for SiriusXM, and then I also do our events in our talent relations. So if there's like a small concert or a big show, like that's my job. So there's always cool people at it.
Yeah, you haven't. If that was supposed to deter us from wanting to follow you around,
I think we all have.
Yeah.
Well, I think the 3 of us are all very lucky.
Right.
I think we all have very cool
matchup.
jobs.
We got Speak for Me against Home
4 or
Life.
5 matchup.
It's a toss-up for me. Speak for Me, not really much of a reason. I think that it was an important song for him, and when he was first on the Born and Raised tour, he was making it a point to everyone that people needed to hear the song, and that Rolling Stone didn't speak for his actions and what he did. And yeah, it was more personal to him. Home Life's good. I think we're all living a home life right now, but yeah, Speak for Me.
I'm going to go Home Life, and I jumped in there because then I'll give Mike the opportunity to break the tie again. But I think, I mean, Speak For Me is good, but I like Home Life. It's definitely got a different sound. I don't know if that's more the 2003 production, like compared to, I think, did Jack Joseph Puig do that record? I'm not sure, but I think Home Life.
I went Speak For Me on this one. I think during the initial. I feel like I'm really attacking you on this one, Mark, so I apologize, but I just feel like I went so against most of like the slow rollers on the first bracket that it was finally time for me to step up and give one love. So,
okay, getting to our 3-6, we got Crossroads and Do You Know Me. Mike, go first on this one.
I went Do You Know Me on this one. For some reason, Crossroads is just never hit like that for me. So Do You Know Me won by more about Crossroads' weakness than Do You Know Me's strength. I'm going to go Crossroads, even though for a very long time I
I didn't realize he was saying call my friend Willie Brown or whatever. I was a bit like, tell my friend where to run. I don't know. I've just heard the lyric wrong forever. But I just never really jived with Do You Know Me. It just felt almost like a palate cleanser to me. So I'm
I will
going to
break
go
the tie.
Crossroads, even though I don't think it's his
Going
strongest cover.
through these two songs, they both don't resonate with me. That's actually why I put them up against each other. I'm like, I'm going to get two songs that I really don't like out of the way and put them against each other so one's out. That said, I do like Do You Know Me a little bit more, just because of the way it's interpreted by other people. If you look and see covers out in the internet, people play Do You Know Me on the ukulele all the time, and it's really just a beautiful thing to see like other people interpret that song. So for that reason, I would go with Do You Know Me. Eventually,
Looking forward to
maybe you'll be on the right.
being
I
on the
think
right
you'll be on
side
the
of
right
one of
side
these
of this one.
matchups
Love
as we go
Song for
forward.
No One against Badge and Gun.
Yes. Love Song for No One. You want to talk about listening to Room for Squares and being like a dude in middle school when everyone was dating everyone for 5 minutes and I couldn't end up in anyone's away message or profile or whatever. Like,
You're tired.
Yeah,
I relate with that song.
Yep, I was gonna say I was gonna go Love Song for No One and put it on Matt to break the tie because I was sick of being the bad guy, but it sounds like we're all in agreement.
Yeah, this is a unity consensus pick from all of us. Love Song for No One. But Badge and Gun's actually pretty good. Like it's one of those dusty little, you listen to it and you're like, okay, this is pretty good. Like I'll play on the piano every once in a while. It's pretty good. Love Song for No One will advance for us in that. Moving over to the right side of the bracket. A lot of people were very unhappy with me that Shadow Days was not in the 64 song bracket. I felt he tried to force it out as a radio hit, and it wasn't. It didn't hit as a radio hit. He wanted it to be, and for that reason, he kind of got exposed. So I left it off of the bracket. That said, it's better than All We Ever Do Is Say Goodbye, so I would pick Shadow Days in that instance.
All We Ever Do Is Say Goodbye. I remember that as that was that Taking on Water time. I think that song and Taking on Water were written around the same time in the same sessions. Shadow Days I was listening to today, and it is like a, hey, in case you didn't read any of the interviews, this is what I'm about. Like, and
it was fan servicey.
As I said, I don't really like the lead singles, so I'm gonna do
Mark,
All We Ever Do Is Say Goodbye.
As soon as we got to this, I had that one penciled in, so I'm glad I can give the vote that now agrees with you on this one.
Yeah.
So I'm All We Ever Do Is Say Goodbye.
Wow, an 8 beating a 1.
What an upset.
Interesting. I'm not going to post this afterwards because then people are going to say you really screwed up the seating. But all right, Wait Until Tomorrow against Love Soon. I struggled with the trio songs on where to rank them all up and down. I thought Boulder's Love was the greatest one, but I kind of middle of the pack these trio songs. For me, I like Love Soon. I just think it's a more classic Mayer song. Wait Until Tomorrow jams. It's definitely a jammer, but it's also at the same token one that I'll skip. I don't skip Love Soon. I skip Wait Until Tomorrow.
Mr. Golic, I think you got to go with Love Soon because I saw it in your mom's Twitter bio. So I think that one's the no-brainer. Yeah, I have to vote for Love Soon.
But yeah, it's the let's bypass the bullshit line is my mom's Twitter bio and has been for like years now.
Somebody liked my tweet today, and I looked at it, or a tweet I was mentioning.
It was so funny because at one point I forget my mom tweeted something, and we used it on the show one time, and we put my mom's tweet up, and we were like on ESPN2 at that point, and all of a sudden in the thing right there, you see let's bypass the bullshit because it was our main page just plastered on E2, and all our people are like, get it down, get it down, get it down.
I'm sure your producers were super happy with that.
That being said, Wait Until Tomorrow. Steve Jordan's drum pattern on that is unlike anything I've ever heard.
All right, moving down the line. War of My Life and Not Myself. Both really good songs. So War of My Life was one that I was trying to leave in the tournament really hard. Like I was trying to get rid of every other song before I got rid of this one. It wasn't actually the first 4 out, but it was one of those jams I'm like, I don't want to get rid of it. I've listened to a version of War of My Life very recently where John makes this whole entire speech about just like, don't give a F what anyone else thinks. Do what you want with your life. Like, this is your life. You want to go eat ice cream, go have an ice cream. Like, it's your life. Do your thing with it. The message of the song speaks out to me a little bit more and more as I get older and as I mature. So for that reason, I would go with War of My Life.
Yeah, I went War of My Life too on this one. So
Mike, you want to go next?
Are you in agreement here? I don't want to.
Oh no, Mark.
I don't think I am. Once again, I think like I like War of My Life. It's just I heard Not Myself again for the first time today because I feel like those Great Indoors, Not Myself, kind of that end of Room for Squares sort of gets not forgotten, but I just don't visit that album as much anymore as some of his other ones. And I don't know, Not Myself just kind of hits a little bit if you're feeling a little down, and
You have a
finding somebody
pattern
that
with
always
your
love you.
favorite
So
John Mayer
I think I
songs.
would go Not Myself.
We got to hang out. Speaking of lonely, good segue. Perfectly Lonely, a 2 seed against Victoria, a 7 seed. This is a good matchup in my opinion. I think Victoria is a really good song. It's underrated. If he should just make
You would
something
like Victoria
different.
after
Like,
seeing Quiet.
don't make it about
Tori.
Tori. Make it about like anything else. Make it about Taylor. Don't know why Taylor came by. Like people will say, "Oh, Taylor Swift." You know what I mean? Like obviously it was written before Taylor Swift, but who the hell is Tori? You know, it's sad. It's a really sad song, and it's something.
By the way, I've always hated that Jennifer Love Hewitt is the subject of Your Body is a Wonderland situation because it makes no sense. The timing makes no sense. I've always hated that.
Don't know why Jenny came by.
Said, like, make it about somebody else,
But Perfectly Lonely for me is the jam. No reason more than it's a happier Mayer song. I enjoy it.
Victoria was one of those, like you just said about the
Mike?
the last pairing. I heard for the first time in a long time, and I was struck because when I first saw this matchup, I was like, I love Perfectly Lonely. Like as someone who has been very single for a long time, like Perfectly Lonely is sort of like the anthem that you can vibe to there. I think I'd vote Victoria for this one. Like hearing it again today, like what I appreciate about the early Mayer songs is just kind of how stripped down a lot of it is. Like you don't have all of the rest of like the polish and all the good like things that go into making a lot of our favorite John Mayer songs. I heard it and I was like, man, you know what? It's nice to hear something that just like kind of is what it is.
And now it's my turn to play
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Perfectly Lonely just because I know that I don't think John really likes anymore because I think it celebrates. I don't know. It's just it's flippant about being single in a way that he doesn't seem anymore. Yeah. But I just that guitar riff. I love everything about it. They don't play it live anymore, and I just
will
really
say
love
about
that
Victoria,
song. It's probably my favorite song.
To
Off of
your
Battle
point,
Studies.
Mike. A lot of his earlier music,
Actually,
like you listen to the guitar more than the words to a degree. And Victoria, like I think of the guitar riff more than I think of the words to the song, even though the words in the song are very like they're serious. Like it's serious stuff. Go to songmeanings.com and like actually look up what that song's about. I'll let you guys do that, but like that, it's important. Going over to the left side of the bracket again, filling it out. We've got Split Screen Sadness, which everyone was pissed at me. That wasn't in the 64. And You're No One Till Someone Let You Down. I figured I'd see it like this because I let some people down by not putting Split Screen Sadness in there. We shared the sadness, as they would say. And for that reason, I would even say Split Screen Sadness is a great song. It's a 1 seed for a reason. It's my pick to advance here.
Yeah, this one's a consensus one here.
I agree.
I'm glad we spent the time on it.
I heard that he doesn't play Split Screen Sadness that much because it used to require kind of like a metronome thing because of the way the pacing is weird.
He'll
but
do
don't know how
sometimes
true
like
that is.
in that acoustic set, he'll play it on the acoustic just by himself. Moving on. Good Love Is on the Way against Great Indoors. We can all appreciate the Great Indoors right now. The song is relative. It resonates with everyone right now. That said, of the trio songs, I love Good Love Is on the Way. When he played it at Jones Beach, when I think it was like 3-4 years ago, or 2-3, I don't even know how long anymore. He had the trio back together on that tour, and they played Good Love Is on the Way, and it rocked. Like it was awesome to hear Love. I was like, this is the John Mayer trio at its finest. So for that reason, I'd pick that.
I went Great Indoors on this one for some reason. I don't know what it like. I have no logical explanation for this one other than Good Love Is on the Way just never hit like that, and maybe it's the lack of like a quality live experience like that to drive it home. But it's one of those that like I kind of just meh about.
Wow.
Good Love Is on the Way for me by a landslide. In fact, if Good Love Is on the Way was in the main bracket, it would have gone far for me. And I encourage everyone to check out the studio version of Good Love Is on the Way, because as the kids would say, that slaps. Like that song. Like, I remember at the time he posted a blog. He was like, I'm in the studio, and he was like, I can't wait to hear Good Love Is on the Way coming out of car stereos next summer, before Continuum came out. And then he released the track listing for Continuum, and he actually put in a blog post like, look, I know Good Love Is on the Way is not here. You need to trust me as far as flow of the album. But they released it on this Best Buy EP that had the Ben Harper Waiting on the World to Change.
You got a
normal
Best Buy EP?
What?
I thought I was crazy of a John Mayer fan.
It was the Waiting on the World to Change EP. It's funny because one of the times I saw Chad, he was like, you really should be like a biographer, because I just this is not, I don't know why, but it's the Waiting on the World to Change EP, and it has the studio version of Good Love Is on the Way, and James Valentine's Maroon 5
By the
plays
way,
on
it was
and
played
it's
live
awesome.
on the Search for Everything tour in 2017, as Marcus says in the chat. Thank you, Marcus. Next up, we have Only Heart, a 3 seed,
yes,
against Tracing, a 6 seed. So as I emailed you guys last night talking about the NIT, I said, yeah, I feel bad. I got to cut Tracing out. It's not going to make it. As I'm putting together the NIT, I'm like, no, Tracing's in. Like, screw songs like Who You Love with Katy Perry. Like, that song's out. They declined their NIT invitation. He doesn't want it in there. I don't want it in there. Tracing's going in. Tracing's my pick. Underrated song. Totally is up there in the categories with Covered in Rain of like songs that were early in his career that should have been put in an album that weren't. Love the song. Tracing's the pick.
I'm not ready to make a choice yet. So, Mike. Oh, no.
Heard you like throwing in there for a reason, but I went back and popped it on. And I was like, oh yeah, like Only Heart's one of those ones that just kind of like disappears into mediocrity for me anyway. So it wasn't going to take much, but yeah, Tracing, give it to me.
I haven't listened to Tracing in a while, but I'm going to.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go Tracing
next
too.
up, we've got 83, which is a 2 seed, against Out of My Mind, which is a 7 seed. So Out of My Mind, out of the trio songs, was probably the one that could have got cut, which is why it's a 7 seed. People might disagree with me. 83 is another song that I talked about Why Georgia earlier. You're getting into John Mayer for the first time and you're listening to the non-radio hits. You listen to Why Georgia, then you listen to 83. Like, they kind of went together. You can't relate to the song at all. He's talking about his being born and his brother and all this crap. Like, you don't relate to it at all, but it's just a good little, like, thinking about my brother Ben. It's like he's just kind of like jamming, and I like that song.
Yeah, Care of Bridgeport CT is enough to give me the nod on that one. So 1983 wins.
All right, moving over to the right side of the bracket.
No,
I don't feel good about 83's chances in the second round, though.
Moving on the right side, we got 1 seed Love Is a Verb against 8 seed Try. Try made it because it was the name of the trio album. Love Is a Verb. A lot of people hit me up during the bracket release, like, why didn't you put this on here? This was my wedding song. I danced to my husband or my wife with it. Like, I felt terrible.
Wow.
From so many people. I didn't know that people really like went to that song. And I'm kind of pissed I didn't think of it myself. So Love Is a Verb for me.
I would like to tell you why Love Is a Verb is a great wedding song. One, very short. Okay. You don't have to, be up there too long. My wife and I went with Love Is a Verb because it was not the easiest courtship process for your boy. And I finally, I was like, she'd be like, I really like you. I'd be like, we're not showing it. Like, you're really not. And so over time it became a thing. And she was like hesitant at our wedding to have the first song be by John Mayer, because obviously that's like, I got to quote unquote win to a degree in that situation. So what I did without telling her was I had her favorite musician cover it. And And so the recording like cut out. Now, what I didn't know was going to happen was we got married in St. Martin. So the DJ system as it was like short circuiting in the like beginning. So when I edited it so well that it sounded like it cut out, and she was like, what the fuck? Like in the middle of our first dance. But then this dude's voice came in. It was this guy named Max Bemis from this band Say Anything. And he really turned Love is a Verb into kind of a death march, but it still made her very happy. So that's what matters. So
now I'm really
I don't know
anything. I don't know. I'm probably not going to be able to find it.
Maybe. They're much angrier band than
Alive
John
with
Mayer
the Glory
music,
of Love.
but
It's like the one Say Anything
I really,
song that I have.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Well, the Love is a Verb defeats Try, even though I really like
easy
Try,
money. That's
but I gotta vote
here.
Love is a Verb.
Cool. All right. So Marcus was asking about Another Kind of Green and made it the 4 seed. I felt that anything higher was probably too much. I felt that anything lower was probably too little. So I met right in the middle, made it the 4 seed against Who Did You Think I Was? Little trio versus trio action. I like Another Kind of Green. Someone turned me on to the song in high school. I had never heard it. I listened to it for the first time. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. And then I listened to the acoustic version. I'm like, oh, I like this one too. It's not one that I'm going to play every day. It's not in my everyday Mayer rotation, but it's one of the songs that comes on. I enjoy it.
Yeah, Another Kind of Green is a t-shirt that I find every once in a while in my closet. And when I'm thinking about getting rid of stuff in the spring, I hold on and go, well, you know what? Like every once in a while, it's going to work fine. So it survives spring cleaning and it survives this matchup.
I for what, just the token vote here, I'm going Who Did You Think I Was? I love that video. I love that song. I think that's a transitional song that really kind of applies to like, okay, the music that he was producing was one thing, and then that opened it up to a large.
All right, moving on to the 3 versus 6. We've got New Deep versus Friends, Lovers, or Nothing. I do recall when Friends, Lovers, or Nothing came out, I really liked it. Now in my older age, I don't. New Deep is all about change. It's one of my favorite songs off the Heavier Things album. I think it could have been on Born and Raised, not with the tonality and the way it was put together, but like the concept of it was almost like it was a change in his life at a certain point. And for that reason, I'll go with New Deep.
Mark?
I'm going to go Friends, Lovers, or Nothing here, because originally that song, I think that song came out of The Hurt, and The Hurt is a song that I really like. Also New Deep, I just remember in an interview with, like, back in the day, it used to be mystupidmouth.com. It was like a big John Mayer message board, and he mentioned, I think, that like he felt like that song was unfinished, and so now I've only been able to hear it as unfinished. And if I remember correctly, New Deep was supposed to be a single before they went with Daughters, and then it was Daughters instead of New Deep. And so I'm going to go Friends, Lovers, or Nothing because I like the instrumentation. Wow. But I really hope
all things considered, probably the good move there going with Daughters worked out pretty well. That being said, I am going to be the bad guy again and advance New Deep on this one.
Yeah.
Mark, I promise it's not personal. Like, it just seems like it keeps ending up like this. I don't like this.
I understand. No, I get it. I feel like as far as the embrace debate, mantra goes, I feel like I'm like the bad takes guy.
System
like,
quarterback.
It's like Tom Brady's not that good.
Well, we're going to find out whether Tom Brady's a system quarterback going forward. That's a conversation for a whole nother podcast. But for this one, the last matchup in the first round, we have 2 seed City Love against 7 seed Man on the Side. I'll break the tie on this one if we have one, but Mike, go first on it.
For as much as I love Covered in Rain, I do enjoy City Love. I think Covered in Rain is the markedly better of the two in the pairing. I went Man on the Side here. Man on the Side is just another one. Every time I hear it, I hear live for some reason. Like, I always go back to that one for me in a landslide here. Like, it's just such a funny, like, different perspective for John, because usually he's always like the main character in a lot of these love stories. So as superficial as that reading is, I go with that one.
Have I put Man on the Side on a burned CD and given it to a girl? Have I done that? Yes. Yes, I have. And for that reason, I feel as though I have to go with Man on the Side.
City Love's
I got so not laid.
I
in
think
high
I
school. It was
skip
really
City Love
impressive.
when it comes on. And I made it a 2 seed because people like it. Man on the Side, like I couldn't just justify making it a high seed in the NIT just because it's not like an album song, but it's really good. And I'm picking it to move on. So that would make our first round all concluded. I said we just run through the rest of it and we go pretty quick. So we got Bold in the second round. We got Bold as Love against Speak for Me. I'd be going with Bold as Love here. Yeah.
You think that's going to run the tables? I understand that, but yeah, I'll go with Bold as Love.
Moving on, we got Do You Know Me against Love Song for No One. I would say Love Song for No One in a landslide here.
Yep.
Okay, Split Screen Sadness against Good Love Is on the Way. This is hard because it's like complete opposite kind of songs. Like one is like Let's Go Fire in Your Belly, and then the other is like We Share the Sadness. I'll go with the 1 seed, Split Screen Sadness. Try to say that 8 times fast. Not going to happen.
Mr. Golic's going to have to be the tiebreaker again because I'm going to go.
I didn't even. Way. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Split Screen Sadness.
Yeah.
I'm a monster.
You are a monster. All right. We mentioned it a little bit earlier. Tracing against 83. Tracing for me.
I want to vote 1983 just to give it some love, but Tracing's the better song.
All right. Okay. Moving on to the other side, we've got All We Ever Do Is Say Goodbye against Love Soon. Ugh, what a terrible matchup. Yeah.
I'm gonna go Love Soon. I don't think it's like it's a song that I liked when I was younger. I don't, in hindsight, like I'm not sure it's a particularly well-written song, especially compared to the rest of his work.
Mom's bio moves on.
I gotta go Love Soon.
Your mom just liked one of my tweets, so I'm going Love Soon as well. Battle Studies.
That's a poor mom, and I appreciate it.
I'm trying to make a Battle Against the War of My Life reference. It's not going to work. War of My Life against Perfectly Lonely. This is the hard one. I'll let you guys go first because I got to ponder on it.
Wow.
I'm gonna let you go, Mike.
You know what? I didn't vote for it based off the matchup in the first round, but Perfectly Lonely really is like a blast to listen to. Like I defy you to walk around and not pop a little spring in your step anywhere you're going. So I'll go with that one.
Yeah, I go back to an analogy I made earlier with the mac
and
cheese and the zoodles. I think Perfectly Lonely is a mac and cheese, so I'll go with that. All right, so that's
I also agree. That's a clean sweep there.
Love Soon. I wonder who will win that matchup. And then we got your wedding song, Love's a Verb. So we'll put that down for you against Another Kind of Green. I'm gonna pick Another Kind of Green, so Mike's gonna have to break a tie.
I'm going Love is a Verb on this one. I love that song. So
now you're not on.
No, I actually do. Like I keep Love is a Verb is one that gets played a lot as I'm like making food in my kitchen. Like if I'm gonna just go with like a casual John Mayer rip for a day, Love is a Verb comes up way more often than you'd expect for the single guy again. So
it's on Coffee Shop on Spotify for sure.
Definitely.
Coffee House Blend. Okay, so we got New Deep against Man on the Side. That's a hard one. I'll go with Man on the Side here. Let's have a 7 seed make a run.
There's just no full band version of Man on the Side, which is what's making it tough for me to. I know that's kind of a weird, but I think I'm gonna go New Deep just because I do like the instrumentation comparatively. But I loved Man. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I related with
Passion's trumping
so
Logic
hard,
here for this one for me. I got to go Man on the Side.
All right, so we are moving on to our quarterfinals. I guess they call it quarterfinals in the NIT. Actually, full disclosure, like I took like the actual NIT bracket and just totally manipulated it for this version. The middle.
I appreciate how you actually made the
NIT
middle logo, like the diamond thing. I was like, oh wow, well done.
I was pretty proud of that one too. Did a little layering in Photoshop. All right, Bold as Love against Love Song for No One. This is a good one. Mike, go first.
I'm probably still going to go Bold as Love here. It's making a run, and I think deservedly so.
I am going to go Love Song for No One using the argument
And
of an
I'm
original
going to
song
make the
over a
argument for
cover.
Continuum over anything, as well as Where the Light Is over anything, and that's Bold as Love. So going to the final four is Bold as Love. Split Screen Sadness against Tracing. It's a 1 seed against a 6 seed. Mark, what are you thinking?
Ooh. I'm going to go Tracing. Excuse me. I'm not going to go Tracing. I'm going to go Split Screen Sadness. Whoops. Just because I think the public knows that song a lot more, and it's a 1 seed, and I'm going to go Split Screen Sadness.
Yeah, I think I'm actually with you on that one. I'm rocking Split Screen. Wow.
You
You were not kidding. Try and say it one time fast. Split Screen Sadness.
Yeah, we share
Yeah.
the sadness. It's a consensus. It's a consensus pick.
Matt?
I'm gonna make that joke until the end of time. Moving over to the right side of the bracket, we've got Love Soon against Perfectly Lonely. So I think we can probably all just chalk up the winner on this one. Yeah.
Yes, boss.
Headed to the final four, and then we got Love Is a Verb against Man on the Side. This is tough. This is really tough. This is super tough.
I think in the canon, neither one is that strong. Like,
Yeah,
I think this is like a weak bracket side.
But what I'll do in this instance, even though I like Man on the Side a lot, for all the people that had this as their wedding song, including you, I'm picking Love Is a Verb. It's only like 3 people.
Now I feel like a basic bitch.
I can say I can't imagine that as a long list of people. So I
How many John Mayer songs do you really have to choose from for a wedding song? You don't really have anything else. What are you gonna? Yeah, your body's on the line. I'm sure.
Slow dancing in a burning room.
Yep, clean sweep.
All right, final
yeah, I'll
four.
go Love Is a
Final
Verb.
four. So we've got a 1 seed.
So 3 1
We've
seeds
got
made
a
it,
2
right?
seed, a 1 seed, and a 1 seed. So 3 1 seeds and a 2 seed. We are basic bitches. Bold as Love against Split Screen Sadness.
Ooh. Who wants to start it off?
Now that we're at this point, I'm really starting to weigh more of the original versus the cover on this one. But no, you know what? I'm not going to overthink it. I'm still going to vote Bold as Love here. I don't care what that makes me. I voted for it.
I am going to go Split Screen Sadness. And I know what Matt's going to do.
We share the sadness. Championship. Split Screen Sadness.
Whoa, upset. I thought for sure.
Whoa.
Yep. See,
Whoa.
I like Split
Oh
Screen
my
Sadness
God.
a lot. It was the first song out. It was the first song that did not make the bracket. Bold as Love should have been in, but I couldn't justify putting it in because it was the trio and all that. I had to put all the other trio songs in if I put Bold as Love in. Split Screen Sadness was the true first team out of the bracket. I wanted it to be there. For that reason, it's got to go to the championship. So we share the sadness. Split Screen Sadness. All right, that's moving on. Now that gives us Perfectly Lonely against Love Is a Verb. Mark, go ahead.
I am actually going to break with my wedding and go Perfectly Lonely, which I just enjoy it more. I just like listening to that song more. I can no longer relate with it, but there was definitely as the same way, but there's definitely a time that I did, and I love the riff, and it's like the one song on Battle Studies where it's like, yeah, this is all good. We're okay. Like everything.
I'm glad you took the burden off of us here. I'll vote Perfectly Lonely now that I don't feel conflicted by Love. Not that I voted for Love Is a Verb as conflict anymore, but now that we've gotten to this point, this is true heavyweight bout. So.
You know, I respect all you people who love Is a Verb. I would have picked Love Is a Verb. No, just kidding. Consensus. Perfectly Lonely. It's a bachelor's paradise song. Like, you're chilling in your house by yourself. You're like eating some ice cream, listening to music. Like, this is my jam. So that makes a championship of Split Screen Sadness and Perfectly Lonely. That is like stereotypical NIT championship. I'll make my case first here. Crap, I can't because I don't really know. This is a tough one. Perfectly Lonely probably for me.
I think I'm going to go. It's so weird because matchup-wise,
next?
I didn't even vote for it in the first round, but now I'm sitting here going, well, yeah, like all these things are true about this. All these things are true. Like I genuinely enjoyed the shit out of this song. It was just the matchup in the first round. So I guess I'm doing it. I guess I'm that inconsistent. Perfectly Lonely.
Woo! Clean sweep of the final for Perfectly Lonely. I feel like Split Screen Sadness, like if you were to be like, I know this sounds weird because I just voted for the other one, but if you were to like be like, what is a better song? I feel like Split Screen Sadness would actually win. I just feel like the mood and tonality of
Perfectly Lonely is like
more
Penn
enjoyable
State
to me, and that's
basketball
why I gotta
before
go.
this season. You know what I mean? Like pretty good team, going to make a run in the NIT when they get there. Doesn't get a lot of respect. Not a lot of fans show up to the game. But they made the run and they won the NIT. In our opinion, I think that is a stereotypical NIT winner. I'm really interested to see how this actually plays out when I put the bracket out there. I'm gonna probably speed it along because I don't want to make it like I'm holding on to this Mayer bracket thing. You know what I mean? Like, we got to get this NIT out there and let people vote on it, let people have their say. I don't think it's going to garner as much participation as the actual bracket, but it's a lot of fun for people who are still in quarantine and looking for something to do.
Yeah, I was surprised there was no Sucker
was
or
and then
Can't Take
off,
That
and then on,
Plane.
and then
Those
off,
would be
and on,
my
and off.
only.
And eventually, it went off because it would have went in place of Out of My Mind, and I was like, I can't really take Out of My Mind out. So Sucker stayed off. Sometimes I wish I had a cold beer as well. I didn't love it.
Can't Take That Plane though. Very underrated song.
That's out there, and the YouTube people love it. I like Taking on Water more than any of those jams. Like that's one that like I would like listen to. Like I downloaded illegally on like YouTube to MP3 and put it on my iPhone. Like that's how much I like that song that you'll listen to that. Breakaway, not bad. The Hotel Bathroom song, pretty good. There's a lot of like unreleased, dusty, dirty John Mayer songs that never made it out there that I just hope someone who's on like that 80th concert screams, play this song. And he's just like, oh my God, I don't know what it is.
Do we want to give some closing thoughts?
I knew
before we get out of here 2 hours.
I just, no joke, I had someone text me. I told right before we started recording this, I texted one of my friends. I had to call about work things. I was like, I'll give you a call. I'm about to record this John Mayer podcast. I just got a text from her that says, I hope you not having called me means you are 2 hours into this John Mayer podcast. Oh.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, I mean, Matt, do you have any final thoughts? This was your.
I guess I'll give you just like a little
baby.
inception on the whole thing. I had a buddy who on Facebook was doing like a music madness sorted bracket, and it was like 64 of like the best artists of all time, and John Mayer wasn't on. And it really pissed me off. And my buddy Joe on Twitter was also doing a best of Billy Joel bracket, and I'm like, between those two ideas, I'm like, I got to do a John Mayer bracket. Let's see if it exists. So I look it up. No one did it. I think there were like kind of a couple like attempts at it over like 2016, 2018, but no one really went after it. So I hit up Pete Blackburn, the guy I was talking about, and I was like, yo, I'm going to do this. You know, because I like to gauge him for ideas because he's a smart guy. Like if he tells you you have a crappy idea, like you got to just take it as it's a crappy idea because he knows content. He's a smart guy, and he goes, this is my favorite idea ever. I love this idea. So like I got cracking on that bracket after that, and it really just exploded into something pretty awesome. There was a lot of traction. There was a lot of people that were interested in it. Personally, it was awesome for me being under quarantine. Like I was having like some pretty nasty anxiety when this first quarantine thing started to happen, and then this thing came along, and I was on Twitter just talking to people and connecting over music, and it really almost like expanded me back into music to a big degree. And I hope it did the same for other people. I hope it like was a nice distraction from maybe watching the news at night. Like you just pulled out your bracket and worked on your bracket instead of maybe going on the news, or you had something to look forward to because you can't leave your house. Like I just hope that was something for people who were participating throughout.
It certainly was for me. Thank you for putting it together. It got me to like check out some songs that I, hadn't listened to in a while. And I think it's pretty cool. Like also started talking to some people I never talked to. Like I'd never talked to both of you gentlemen till this evening. And I had a great time talking about John Mayer because I don't think John's one of those artists necessarily where people walk around being like, I love John Mayer, but you find people that love John Mayer, and like you
It's
can
like
go deep, as
NASCAR.
we've proven.
It's one of those things like you can explain
past couple
NASCAR to people, and people are like, it's just cars driving around in circles. And then you take them to a race, and they're like, this is awesome. It's the same thing with John Mayer. John Mayer's great. Oh yeah. He's just another guy who made out with Taylor Swift and Jennifer Aniston. Take him to a concert. Oh my God, that guy can shred on the guitar. It's the same thing. I have one final note before we go, because Golic, I don't know how much we're gonna get to talk. I once interned for the ESPY Awards back in college, and it was a company called Maggie Vision, and Maura Mant, who just passed recently, was in charge of that company. Really awesome woman. In a terrible situation what happened with her, but either way, working with the production company, they did some shoots, and they did a shoot with your dad, and they made your dad wear yellow pastel pants for whatever reason. He was a size 38, and they brought the pants back, and they were like, yeah, Golic didn't want these pants. Does anyone want them? Me, Glory Days, frat 250 pounds, was like, give me Mike Golic's pants. I want them. You know what I mean? I got them, brought them home. They're still in my house, like on Long Island, but I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world. I'm like, now we're doing a John Mayer conversation. I have a pair of your dad's pants.
That is true. That is the best way we could have ended all of this one right now, is to know that somewhere on Long Island in your house are my dad's pants.
Never want them back. We can get them back.
I think you have to send him a pair of your pants.
It's like instead of the sports jersey swap, now we just have the
pants.
alternate pants swap.
I would doubt he's a 38 anymore, though. He's taking off some weight.
Dad's down in the 230s now. He's got to be I would say he's probably around a 32 at this point. So those pants won't fit anymore. And thankfully, the family history of type 2 diabetes thanks him for not fitting in those pants anymore.
Good. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this. Matt, thanks for putting the bracket together. I guess that's the end of our show. We've
I'll post that now.
To all the songs in the NIT.
I'm looking forward to the John Mayer One Shining Moment video.
All right, watch it. You're in it.
I still haven't watched it yet, so I'm very excited to check it out.
Like me after you watch it. You're in it.
Oh God, yes.
All right.
All right. Oh my God. All right, guys. Thanks everyone for watching.
See you guys.
I got to end this meeting now so we can save this recording. Bye. Later.